Chapter 1190. Dangerous peaks stood in great numbers, piercing straight into the heavens. They were like peerless heavenly swords. The spiritual energy was like smoke and fog, dense and rolling, and it was extremely dense. On the mountain walls, enormous immortal vines were winding and climbing like soaring horned dragons. The fragrance of orchids wafted through the air, and they were sparkling and translucent as they flickered with resplendent light. Between the mountain walls, waterfalls hung down like white ribbons. The splashing water droplets were like smoke and curtains, rising into the air and drifting with the wind. They floated in the sky, reaching a height of several hundred meters. There were also huge black eagles soaring in the mountains. When they spread their wings, they were hundreds of meters long. They swooped down into the forest, and when they reappeared, there was 100-meter-long python in their huge claws. What was even scarier was that the lightning bolts that were as thick as arms formed a huge lightning shield that covered the mountains and exploded from time to time. Ah, the western gate of heaven is just a fragment of the deity ground. I didn't expect it to have so many treasures. One of the guards is already at the soul formation level. I wonder how prosperous the cultivation civilization of the human race in the deity ground used to be. But how did the deity ruins become a ruin with monsters everywhere? Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes and was confused. What had happened to the deity ground? Could it be that the annihilators, or their henchmen, had finally caught up to the deity ground that roamed the universe? Around the chaotic Thunder Mountain, there were over 100 experts of various shapes and sizes. They were either standing proudly in the air, sitting cross-legged on the ground, or hiding in the forest, and each of them occupied a position. They looked at each other warily and none of them dared to enter. Most of those overlords were from the third-level dimension of the North Sea, and some were even from the deity ruins. Most of them were at the peak stage of the Golden Core level, and the weakest was at the mid-stage. However, those mid-stage Golden Core overlords had special bloodlines and were very powerful. The most powerful ones were the 3 peak stage Golden Core Grand Perfected Immortals. Many of them had grudges against each other, but they were surrounded by overlords for the same purpose, so none of them dared to attack recklessly. There were 100 Golden Core Perfected Immortals gathered around the Thunder Mountain, which was comparable to the entire West Land. That was really shocking. This Lei Meng is quite intelligent. He actually set up a grand astral lightning array. However, there was a loophole in this grand formation. It was said that it would be destroyed once every 60 years. At that time, we can go in. A middle-aged cultivator with a pair of golden wings on his back and lightning crackling around him stood in the air and lamented, "Brother Lei Zhenzi, you're the only one who's capable of this. However, before we take action, we still need to set up a plan." Was he here to kill Lei Meng or just to plunder the treasures? That Lei Meng is not easy to deal with. Jiang Tian landed quietly 5 kilometers away from the Thunder Mountain. He immediately knew that the man who spoke had the blood of the Golden Rock and could control the wind and thunder. He also had a middle-grade Golden Core and had reached the peak of the Golden Core level. Even on a cultivation planet, he would be a giant overlord. Golden-winged Eagle King, don't be so pretentious. A boorish cultivator, who was sitting on a huge azure wolf and holding a spiked club in his hand, shouted, "That's right. Lei Meng may be strong, but we have you, a perfected immortal from the ruins of immortality, and the overlords of the Baiming Sea working together. Do you think we can't kill him? He's just an animal after all." His eyes revealed a look of intense greed as he said, "That's right. Besides, if we don't kill Lei Meng, it won't be easy to get the primal chaos source cauldron of the Xing Emperor. Once I get the primal chaos source cauldron, I can reach the nascent soul level." The primal chaos source cauldron. Hearing this, everyone's expression changed. "Overlord Azure Wolf, you're right. I've heard of this before. The Dharma treasure of the Xing Emperor is invaluable." The golden-winged Eagle King nodded, then his face became serious and his eyes became suspicious. "However, this treasure of the Xing Emperor should be the place where the nascent soul cultivators are coveting. How did you hear about it?" Although he said so, he still couldn't control the look of greed on his face. He was quite tempted. A golden core overlord was considered an extraordinary existence in the universe. They could control a planet or a country or a sect on a continent. They ruled endless territories and were respected by thousands of people. In the ruins of immortality, the golden-winged eagle king was a marquis. He was considered a second-rate overlord, but still not the top. Above him, there were many nascent soul cultivators, dozens of nascent soul cultivators, and even some unfathomable living fossils. And the high and mighty lord of the ruins of immortality, the ruins emperor, was rumored to have reached the soul formation level. He didn't even deserve to carry the ruins emperor's shoes. He couldn't even raise his head in front of him. Cultivators pursued great freedom, great liberation, great fortune, and great freedom. They wanted to indulge in the world and kill thousands of enemies while talking and laughing. But all of this had to be based on the foundation of strength. The golden-winged eagle king certainly wanted to reach a higher level. As long as he could get either of the Shang Emperor's treasures in the chaotic Thunder Mountain and Lei Meng's monster core, he could easily reach the nascent soul level or even the nascent soul level. I'm guessing that someone deliberately spread the news. Another person said. That person was sitting on a white ice bear. He was also a perfected golden core grand perfected immortal. He was the sect master of the Stygian sect, Supremacy Guang Kuan. His aura was sinister, and his strength was at least 10 times that of sect master Li. He was also a perfected golden core cultivator. Deliberately spread the news? Why? Everyone's expression changed. How would I know? Supremacy Guang Kun sighed and said, but we all received an anonymous flying sword message. That's very strange. Could it be a trap to lure us in? Kill us and steal our treasures? Or maybe we offended some nascent soul cultivator? The golden-winged eagle king pondered for a moment, then shook his head and said firmly, but in the eyes of nascent soul cultivators, we are like ants. They can kill us in the ruins of immortality. Why would they set up a trap and bring us here? Everyone nodded when they heard that. That's right. If we kill someone here, we have to face Lei Meng. Even if it's a nascent soul cultivator, it's very dangerous. At that moment, Supremacy Green Wolf frowned and said, Golden-winged eagle king, I heard that you even asked Tathagata of West Earth to join us. Why hasn't he done anything yet? That's right. Tathagata of West Earth is the revered one of a world. I heard that Thunder Mountain is proficient in the art of wind and thunder. They can use lightning to deal with lightning. That's quite useful. Everyone chimed in. Rukai has a Buddhist divine power called heart connection. When we studied cultivation arts together in the past, he used his divine power to connect the two of us. I sensed that something big happened in West Earth. Tathagata of immortality was killed. The golden-winged eagle king frowned and thought for a while. A glint of killing intent flashed in his eyes as he suddenly sighed. West Earth was an independent dimensional world. It wasn't like the ruins of immortality, where many dimensional worlds could be connected. However, the small world of Thunder Lock could connect to several dimensional worlds. The golden-winged eagle king had met Tathagata of immortality in this world 100 years ago. After fighting side by side many times, the two of them had become close friends. How is that possible? Doesn't that mean West Earth has changed? Who did it? How dare they? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. Tathagata was known as the revered one of West Earth. He was a veteran perfected golden core and half-step to nirvana. He was invincible in West Earth. Although he couldn't be compared to the ruins emperor, he was comparable to the master of a large sect. How could he be killed so easily? Hearing this, Jiang Tian's eyes widened as his heart shuddered. Mao Hongdai was also stunned. The golden-winged eagle king was only 200 years old, but he knew Tathagata of immortality. This meant that Tathagata of immortality had definitely entered this world in the past 200 years. However, Hui Yan said that no one had entered this world in the past few hundred years or even 1,000 years. Could it be that he's lying to me? Could there be a conspiracy behind this? However, Jiang Tian decided to take things as they came. He was confident in his ability to adapt. What was there to be afraid of? The golden-winged eagle king seemed to recall the days when he cultivated with Tathagata. He sighed regretfully. A glint of murderous intent flashed in the golden-winged eagle king's eyes. He said coldly, before he died, I could sense a trace of information in his mind. However, there is a spatial barrier and a strict world membrane after all. I can only see a few scenes. I can't sense the rest. When I find the guest from West Earth, I will definitely ask him clearly. If I can step foot in West Earth one day, I will definitely crush that murderer to death. Upon hearing that, Mao Hongdai revealed a look of shock as she turned to look at Jiang Tian. However, she was relieved when she saw Jiang Tian's calm expression. Jiang Tian didn't want to start a massacre here. Know yourself and know your enemy and you will never be defeated. Information about the ruins of immortality and the various dimensional worlds was too rare. He didn't expect to encounter experts from the ruins of immortality and the various dimensional worlds here. It was simply effortless. At that moment, he was paying attention to everything and searching for information. There was naturally no need to expose himself. Jiang Tian naturally wasn't afraid of the ruins of immortality. Even if dozens of dimensional worlds from the ruins of immortality attacked together, Jiang Tian might not be invincible, but he would at least have the means to protect his life. However, his fate was already connected to the entire human race at this moment. Once the ruins of immortality mentioned attacking Earth, the planet might face a disaster. After all, a golden core overlord could fight against nuclear weapons. How many nuclear weapons on Earth could kill a golden core overlord? First, the spirit chi on Earth would be restored and a large number of overlords would be cultivated so that Earth would have the ability to protect itself. Then, he would take the initiative to attack the ruins of immortality. That was Jiang Tian's best plan. Thus, after Jiang Tian arrived at this place, he kept a very low profile. He stopped at the edge and did not reveal anything. However, the tree wanted to be quiet, but the wind didn't stop. At this time, the golden-winged eagle king suddenly noticed the existence of Jiang Tian and Mao Hongdai. "Hm. You are from West Earth. How did Tathagata Buddha die? Why don't you tell me the truth immediately? What are you talking about?" Mao Hongdai pretended to be confused and asked in Sanskrit. "Bad luck. Everyone in West Earth speaks Sanskrit. This woman is from ancient India, but she can't understand me." The golden-winged eagle king looked depressed and gave up asking. He and Tathagata used to talk in ancient Chinese, so he didn't learn much Sanskrit. No one else had learned it either. At this time, a dragon-shaped energy flew in the sky. It was Ao Wushuang and the others. Along the way, Ao Wushuang saw the remains of the monsters left behind by Jiang Tian and was also frightened. She thought that the combat power of this kid was probably comparable to that of a peak-stage golden core cultivator. However, at this moment, when she saw that several peak-stage golden core grand perfected immortals were there, she immediately became bolder and didn't take Jiang Tian seriously. Seeing that she had also followed, Mao Hongdai's face turned slightly pale. Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes and then shook his head with a wry smile. Now, it seemed that he had been too merciful. This woman had clearly come to inform him of the news. Chapter 1191. However, they were just a few perfected golden core cultivators. Jiang Tian didn't take them to heart. He had killed countless of them in West Earth and Heavenly State. Jiang Tian's expression remained calm as he watched coldly from the side. He wanted to see how this woman was going to court death. Sure enough, Ao Wushuang immediately came over to greet him openly and said respectfully, "I'm Ao Wushuang, the personal disciple of the true dragon sect of the Dragon Gate region. Greetings to the Golden Eagle King, Supremacy Qing Lang, Supremacy Guang Kun, and all the other seniors." "Oh, why are you here?" The sect master of the Xianming sect, Supremacy Guang Kun, had met the sect master of the True Dragon sect several times. He smiled and nodded. The golden-winged eagle king was arrogant and didn't even look at her. As the king of a country in the ruins of immortality and a perfected golden core cultivator, he had the chance to talk to the ruins emperor. In his eyes, people like Ao Wushuang who came from a third-level world were like ants that weren't worth mentioning. As for Supremacy Qing Lang, he had a bad temper and frowned. Ao Wushuang, why are you here? You're just an early-stage golden core cultivator, and you've only been a golden core cultivator for 1 or 2 years. Do you want to become Lei Meng's food? How did your father teach you? Do you think this is a joke? Leave now. His voice was like thunder, and a cold, bloodthirsty, and violent aura pressed down. Ao Wushuang's face turned pale and her heart palpitated. Ao Qingluo and Ao Weifeng were also forced to retreat and kowtow. Senior, you're right. Ao Wushuang maintained her composure and said with a smile, however, I did come here because I have something important to report. Speak. Leave after you're done. Supremacy Qing Lang frowned impatiently. Ao Wushuang looked at Jiang Tian and said with certainty, although these two are from West Earth, they can speak ancient Chinese. Kid, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you answer my question? Don't you know that I'm an immortal from the ruins of immortality? The Golden Eagle King was enraged. He glared at Jiang Tian and approached him. When everyone saw this, they either revealed a mocking expression, took pleasure in his misfortune, looked on coldly, or shook their heads and sighed. This person's cultivation level was obviously average. He was merely in the foundational level, yet he provoked the wrath of the Eagle King. Wasn't that a dead end? Just when everyone thought that Jiang Tian was dead for sure. The golden-winged Eagle King's heart suddenly tightened. He forcefully stopped in his tracks and carefully sized up Jiang Tian. Fellow cultivator, we are all in a dangerous place. Of course, we have to work together and share information. If you tell me, do you think I will treat you unfairly? At his level, he was an old monster with a lifespan of 200 years. Being able to survive in the dangerous world of cultivation, he was no fool. He had just noticed that Jiang Tian and Mao Hongdie's aura seemed to be only in the foundation establishment stage. In particular, Jiang Tian's aura was ordinary, as if he had no cultivation. When he carefully checked Jiang Tian with his immortal will, he couldn't detect any energy waves, which made him more vigilant. The Thunder Lock was a dangerous place where monsters ran rampant and overlords gathered. Because they couldn't travel to other worlds freely, it was completely outside the law and blood was easily spilled. However, this person had traveled 100 miles and arrived at the foot of the Thunder Mountain safely. How could he be an ordinary person? Was he a nascent soul cultivator who was good at hiding his energy? Or was he a veteran golden core cultivator with a special dantian? The golden-winged Eagle King wasn't sure, but he decided not to attack Jiang Tian first. He would wait and see what would happen. I'm just an itinerant cultivator and I don't care about the mortal affairs of Westland. Besides, I just came out of seclusion and I don't know about the death of Buddha Datong. Jiang Tian restrained his viciousness and said lightly. If the golden-winged Eagle King said anything else, Jiang Tian would have already killed him, but since he stopped before the cliff, Jiang Tian would let him live for now. Seeing this, the golden-winged Eagle King said, I'm old friends with Buddha Datong. Since you're from Westland, I'll protect you. However, can you help me find out about the death of Buddha Datong? We'll talk about it later. Jiang Tian didn't say anything, which made the golden-winged Eagle King a bit unhappy. Jiang Tian didn't care what he thought. His eyes were slightly cold as he glanced at the slightly disappointed Ao Wushuang. Ao Wushuang felt Jiang Tian's cold gaze and her body froze. She felt a chill from head to toe. Of course, she knew that Jiang Tian was warning her. However, she was too eager to get her storage ring back. Besides, she thought that Jiang Tian's warning gaze meant that he was afraid of the dark underworld sect, which made her feel more at ease. Are you done? Is there anything else? Then let's go. Supremacy Qing Lang urged impatiently. If I leave, this person will leave West Earth and there will be a spatial barrier. Where am I going to find him? Numerous thoughts flashed through her mind. In the end, Ao Wushuang fiercely gritted her teeth as a trace of fierceness flashed in her clear and beautiful eyes. I still have something to tell you. Supremacy Guankuan, I saw with my own eyes that this person killed Elder Li and 8 disciples. The moment she said that, everyone was shocked. They looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief as if they were looking at an idiot. This was going to be fun. The Dark Underworld sect's Supremacy Guankuan was the most narrow-minded and would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. This kid killed their elder and knew that they were perfected immortals. Yet, he still stayed here and waited to be slaughtered. Bastard, how dare you kill my people? Do you think my Dark Underworld sect is easy to bully? Kneel down immediately and kill yourself. I'll leave your corpse intact. The Dark Underworld sect's supremacy stared at Jiang Tian with cold eyes. A cold and cruel murderous aura surged out. He sat on the back of the ice bear and closed in on Jiang Tian. This kid is just a fake core elite. He thinks he's great just because he can kill a mid-stage golden core elite. How would he know that there's a perfected golden core perfected immortal here? Ao Weifeng sneered. How dare you steal our things? You're too greedy. If you didn't steal our storage rings, we wouldn't have wanted to kill you. Now, not only did all our efforts go to waste, but you also ruined Qingqing's life. Ao Qingluo lightly snorted a few times. That snow-white, moist and cute little face was filled with a thick expression of disdain. In her opinion, Jiang Tian was an idiot. If he wanted to steal the treasures, he would have to eliminate the root of the problem and leave no one to take revenge on. As for Jiang Tian, he didn't do anything. She couldn't see any shrewdness or scheming. She really didn't know how Jiang Tian could survive for so long in the cruel world of cultivation. Ao Wushuang was calculating in his mind and felt a little regretful. If he dies like this, we can get the storage rings that belong to us. But the storage rings of the Dark Underworld sect and the treasures of the Corpse Hill won't belong to us. They will be divided by everyone. Guangkuan, why are you talking nonsense with him? Just crush him to death. He's just an ant from the west. Qing Lang laughed weirdly. His eyes were cruel and merciless. He was arrogant and domineering to the extreme, as if he wanted to fight for supremacy. Guangkuan. As for the golden-winged eagle king, his eyes were indifferent. He looked up at the sky as if nothing had happened. It was as if there was something in the sky that attracted him. He had completely forgotten his promise to Jiang Tian. He indeed didn't know Jiang Tian's background, but no matter how strong Jiang Tian was, he couldn't be a golden core perfected stage cultivator, right? He heard that he was at the pseudo-core stage. What was a pseudo-core? It meant that he had formed a core embryo but hadn't completed it. It was the transitional stage between the foundation establishment stage and the golden core stage. In the eyes of a golden core overlord, he was still a foundation establishment stage ant. He definitely wouldn't offend a golden core perfected immortal for a foundation establishment stage ant. This kid seems to be scared out of his wits. He doesn't even know how to kneel and beg for mercy. Seeing that Jiang Tian didn't move, everyone sneered. It looks like a thunder array, but it's actually a thunder snake array. There are quite a lot of loopholes. Why wait for it to open? At that moment, Jiang Tian suddenly looked away from the chaotic thunder mountain and looked at Supremacy Guangkuan. He smiled and said, "Were you talking to me just now?" You. Supremacy Guangkuan, who was originally full of killing intent and contempt, suddenly felt a sense of danger. He showed a hint of fear and immediately retreated. At the same time, the Xianming water gushed out from his dantian and turned into 9 giant kun whales that surrounded him. He was extremely fast. It only took him a second to activate his golden core and form his Dharma form. But it was already too late. Everyone watched in shock. All of a sudden, a dazzling golden line appeared between heaven and earth. As soon as this golden line appeared, it seemed to be able to split the entire Leisure world apart. Like a knife cutting through water, it easily broke through the 9-headed kun whale Dharma form and directly cut through the dantian of Guangkuan's supremacy. Guang Kuan had refined his golden core for hundreds of years and had gone through 3 thunder tribulations, fire tribulations, and wind tribulations. His body was indestructible and could resist nuclear weapons, but it was cut like a piece of paper under the golden threads. Arg! Arg! The 9 Kun whales were connected and the ice bear only had time to let out a cry of despair and shock before it turned into pieces and fell to the ground. Once the 9 Kun whale Dharma form was broken, it immediately exploded uncontrollably. The surging shockwaves spread out in all directions, instantly blasting the ice bear's body into pieces. Bits of flesh and blood scattered on the ground like flowers scattered by a celestial maiden. Supremacy Guang Kuan's body had already been broken into several pieces and had been thrown 1,000 meters away. When the dust settled, everyone saw Chen Fan. Jiang Tian was still standing there unscathed and holding 2 bloody black golden cores in his hands. His white robe was dusty, which meant that he still had energy to protect himself with true essence when he killed Guang Kuan. His true essence was terrifyingly vast. What? Everyone at the scene was shocked. Golden-winged Eagle King seemed to have thought of something. His face turned pale and he said with a trembling voice. Are you the overlord of the New West Land who killed Tathagata Datong? That's right. It's me. You just said that you were close to Tathagata Datong and that you hate me and want to avenge him, right? Jiang Tian put the broken golden core into his dantian and let the Xianshui azure dragon swallow it. Then, he looked at Golden-Winged Eagle King and said. The overlord of the West Land? Everyone went silent after hearing what he said. Everyone was dumbfounded and froze on the spot. Chapter 1192. Right now, everyone was stupefied, not daring to believe what they were seeing. They were shocked to the extreme. Even Ao Wushuang was shocked to the point her scalp went numb, and her beautiful face turned pale. That person seemed to be in his 30s, but he had become the venerable of West Earth. Such an achievement was truly inconceivable. Although West Earth wasn't part of the ruins of deity, it was comparable to a level 3-dimensional world. It wasn't far from a level 2 world. Most cultivators were still at the Qi refinement or foundation establishment level when they were at Jiang Tian's age. They couldn't compare at all. However, Ao Wushuang quickly calmed down and shook his head. Although he's talented and can be called an elite, he's too arrogant. The Golden Eagle King is not only powerful but also has a powerful bloodline. He has a mid-grade golden core and is a noble from the ruins of deity. How can you provoke him? You killed his old friend and questioned him like this. How could he let you go? When everyone thought that the Golden Eagle King was going to attack Jiang Tian to avenge his friend, the Golden Eagle King suddenly shouted. Hero! Heroes come from the young. Unexpectedly, the Golden-Winged Eagle King retracted his wings and knelt on the ground like a meteor. He lowered his arrogant head and said loudly, I didn't expect the venerable of deity to reach the top of West Earth at such a young age. I admire your talent. What? Everyone was shocked. Ao Wushuang's smile froze on his face and his eyes almost popped out. Golden Eagle King, you're too shameless. Didn't you say that you and the Buddha were close? Didn't you say that you were both friends and teacher? Didn't you say that you would cut your enemy into pieces? However, some experienced cultivators nodded and gave him a thumbs up. Changing the rudder according to the wind, being able to be high or low, being able to be unyielding and also being able to lower one's head and admit defeat, this is what a true cultivator is like. Jiang Tian didn't just kill Guang Kuan. He killed him in an instant. And he killed him in an instant when he used his Dharma form. He wasn't just a golden core perfected immortal. He had the power of a nascent soul heavenly lord. At this time, the Golden-Winged Eagle King provoked Jiang Tian. Did he have a death wish? With his hands behind his back, Jiang Tian looked at the ashen-faced venerable Green Wolf and sneered, Green Wolf, didn't you just call me an ant? Are you trying to strangle me to death? I'm standing right in front of you, and I'm not too far away. Come and kill me. Senior, this disciple has eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I have offended you. please be magnanimous and show mercy." Although Azure Wolf was apologizing, his face was not apologetic at all. He sat cross-legged on Azure Wolf's back and cupped his fists. "Senior, don't worry. I'll surely lead all the geniuses of the Northern Sea to assist you in the upcoming hunt. So long as you instruct us, no one will dare disobey." Green Wolf also knew how terrifying Jiang Tian was. However, he had always been an arrogant and hot-tempered person. He was unwilling to lower his head so easily. Moreover, 80% of the 100 Golden Core cultivators present were from the Northern Sea and had a close relationship with him. As far as he was concerned, Jiang Tian did not dare to exterminate him. Firstly, Jiang Tian was probably worried that everyone would gang up on him, and he might not have much of a chance of winning. Secondly, Jiang Tian had also come for the Lightning Mang. Even a nascent soul cultivator would not be completely confident in defeating the Lightning Mang. Everyone needed to work together. Everyone understood this as well. They all thought that Jiang Tian was going to go with the flow and stop while he was ahead. "I asked you to come and kill me. Who needs your help?" Jiang Tian said coldly, Come and kill me. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing you. It's over. Azure Wolf has been targeted by the young venerable of the era." Seeing this, everyone was stunned. Their hearts trembled violently. This person was so domineering and vengeful. "Venerable of the West Earth, I've already solemnly apologized. What else do you want?" Azure Wolf's face turned green and white. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "Don't go too far. If you hadn't been so aggressive and left no room for negotiation, I'm afraid everyone would have had to attack you." "So what if I'm bullying you?" Jiang Tian put one hand behind his back and raised his right hand with a disdainful look in his eyes. He slapped across the air as if he was swatting a fly. "You!" Azure Wolf was furious. He was a Golden Core perfected immortal after all. How could he be humiliated, trampled, and slaughtered by others? He waved the mace in his hand, and the phantom of a wolf's head roared, wanting to block Jiang Tian's slap. But it was useless. Bang! The phantom of the wolf's head instantly shattered. Azure Wolf was sent flying 5 to 6 miles away and deeply embedded into the mountain wall. A few clear fingerprints had already appeared on his face, and blood was dripping from the corner of his mouth. At that moment, he was covered in dirt and was in a sorry state. Where was his previous arrogance? "Revered one of the West Earth, don't you dare touch me again." Azure Wolf was filled with hatred as he roared loudly. He clenched his steel-like teeth and let out an ear-piercing screech. Whoosh! Jiang Tian reached out with his left hand, grabbing at the void, sucking him over. "Let go of me." Jiang Tian grabbed Azure Wolf's throat like an eagle grabbing a chick. He could not help but struggle and roar in anger. Unfortunately, Jiang Tian had used a restriction technique to freeze his body. He was completely at the mercy of others and could not resist at all. "So what if I touch you?" Jiang Tian said mockingly. "Do you think that because you have more people, these North Sea trash will help you? Ask them now. Do they dare?" In fact, Azure Wolf was already in despair at that moment. He had overestimated his teammates. Jiang Tian had already attacked him, but the other North Sea experts did not do anything at all. That was a clear indication of their attitude. How would we dare to anger the revered one of the world? The golden-winged eagle king smiled obsequiously, looking like a slave. Then, he scolded sternly, "Azure Wolf, you blind bastard. How dare you provoke the revered one of the world? How dare you? I won't let you off. Revered one of the world, put him down. Killing this kind of ant will dirty your hands. Let me do it. I, the golden-winged eagle king, will kill him. Yes, yes, yes." Provoking the revered one of the world is truly blind and reckless. He should be cut into 1,000 pieces and then his divine soul should be extracted and burned for half a month to punish him properly. Azure Wolf has always been selfish and oppressed low-level cultivators. He only has himself to blame for what happened today. Since the golden-winged eagle king had said that, the North Sea golden core cultivators did not dare to step forward. They all shouted loudly. In such a desperate situation where no information could be transmitted, the ugliness of human nature would be magnified 1,000 times in the face of Jiang Tian's overwhelming pressure. At that moment, under extreme fear, they only wanted to save their lives. Why would they care about Azure Wolf's life? They wished they could stomp on him a few times as long as they could gain Jiang Tian's favor. Azure Wolf had never expected such an outcome. He was completely flustered and could no longer be unyielding or arrogant. How could he be Jiang Tian's match by himself? He was filled with fear and despair. He trembled and begged with tears and snot flowing down his face. Revered one of the West Earth, I know my mistake. Please spare my life. I'm willing to be your slave and servant to repay your kindness. I'm willing to let you off, but you can ask them. Will they agree? Jiang Tian laughed with interest. As long as one of them asks me to let you off, I'll let you off. You mustn't. This kid has committed heinous sins and is extremely vengeful. If you let him off, he'll definitely take revenge. Yes, yes, yes. If you kill him, you'll definitely get rid of a scourge for the North Sea realm. Everyone will respect you. Everyone exclaimed and blamed Azure Wolf. Aw. You guys actually. You guys are so vicious. Azure Wolf's heart skipped a beat as he came to a realization. He couldn't help but cry, feeling extremely aggrieved. Take revenge on this revered one of the West Earth? How would he have the chance? Firstly, he wasn't strong enough. Secondly, the spatial barrier couldn't be broken. What could he do when the revered one of the West Earth returned to West Earth? In essence, these people had already trampled on him and were afraid of his revenge. So they wanted him to die. A few hours ago, some of these people were still calling him brothers and drinking merrily. Some were servile to him, calling him a perfected immortal and senior. Some had even received his help. Azure Wolf had been taught by his seniors since he was young. Cultivators were cruel and heartless, and the pugilistic world was dangerous. He also thought that he was vicious, cunning, and despicable enough. He had experienced countless dangerous battles. But now, he realized that he was still too kind. He had overestimated the relationships between cultivators and underestimated the ugliness of human nature. All right, I'll send you on your way. Jiang Tian's face was full of mockery. He patted his furry cheeks and sneered. Remember, in your next life, don't be too arrogant and despotic. In fact, they also looked down on me, but they hid it in their hearts and didn't say it out loud. You're the one who jumped the highest. If I don't kill you, who should I kill? Before he could finish speaking, under everyone's horrified gazes, a crisp crack sounded out. Jiang Tian had broken his neck, pulled out his blood-stained golden core, and tossed it into his storage ring. His golden core wasn't suitable for Jiang Tian's 5 divine bodies, but it was full of vitality. It was best to refine it into an elixir. The sound of his neck being snapped wasn't loud. It definitely wasn't as earth-shattering as when Jiang Tian activated his divine body. However, in the ears of the crowd, it was as if a cosmic thunderbolt had struck their ears. All of them shuddered in unison, and they were shocked to the point their heads lowered even lower while their expressions became even more respectful and terrified. They're courting death. The revered one of the world is killing them. We all support and admire you. The overlords of the Green Wolf race and the Xianming sect were so frightened that they knelt on the ground and put their heads in their pants. They were afraid that Jiang Tian would kill them and not let them go. They would only die if they knelt and expressed their stance too late. Ignoring them, Jiang Tian threw the body away and flicked the blood off his fingers. Jiang Tian clasped his hands behind his back and looked at the trembling Ao Wushuang. A trace of mockery appeared on his face as he said in an indifferent tone, he said with a faint smile, not only am I from West Earth, but I'm also the one who killed the revered one. Ao Wushuang, what's wrong? Do you still have a problem? Do you still want to complain? Go on. Chapter 1193. Ao Wushuang was extremely regretful. She did not expect to meet such a murderous god. Even a grand perfected immortal could be killed easily. Killing her would be as easy as killing an ant. Who could protect her if the Golden Eagle King begged for mercy? She was so frightened that she knelt on the ground and kowtowed like she was pounding garlic. She cried, "World-revered one, I know my mistake. Please spare me." Ao Qingluo, Ao Weifeng, and the others also knelt on the ground, trembling like rabbits in front of a ferocious tiger. You complained to Elderly, and he was killed by me. Since you spoke up for me at that time, I will spare your life and only take your storage rings. Am I not merciful enough? Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back, frowned, and asked seriously. Merciful, merciful. Knowing that death was near, Ao Wushuang cried until she was out of breath. I was so merciful, but you still plotted against me. Can there still be the most basic trust between people? Jiang Tian shook his head and sighed with a sorrowful expression. Suddenly, he viciously kicked her plump chest, causing her to fall to the ground. I know my mistake. Let me go this time. Ao Wushuang quickly crawled over like a bitch and kowtowed, begging for mercy. Tears and snot rolled down her face. Jiang Tian smiled and said, You complained to the Golden Eagle King. You complained to the Eagle King. The Golden-Winged Eagle King is also a clever person. He saw my strength and didn't dare to fight me. He even confessed to me. But you did not give up and complain to Guangkuan. Why don't you continue to complain? He was already killed by you, and his body was cold. Why should I complain? If I complain, will he be able to hear me? At this moment, Ao Wushuang wanted to find a piece of tofu and kill herself. One person could be forgiven for falling down, but to fall in the same place several times, one could only say that there was something wrong with one's brain. Ao Wushuang thought that she was quite talented, but for the first time, she started to seriously doubt her intelligence. However, Ao Wushuang also felt bitter, but she could not say it out loud. It could be said that a false core cultivator would find it extremely difficult to fight against a golden core first or second layer cultivator. She had never seen a fake Dan stage expert before. She had never even heard of someone who could kill a golden core great circle expert. It was as if a 3-year-old kid had sent Mike Tyson flying with one punch. If it was anyone else, no one would believe it. And at this time, Ao Qingluo, who had always looked down on Jiang Tian's intelligence, finally understood. It wasn't Jiang Tian's IQ that was low. It was his own fault. He had eyes but failed to see. From the beginning to the end, he did not see Jiang Tian's strength clearly at all. For a powerhouse like Jiang Tian, who was close to the nascent soul stage, there was no need for him to judge the situation and avoid the sharp edge. No matter how many schemes you have, no matter how clever you are, I will break them all with a single punch. My strength will crush yours. Revered one of the world, Buddhism has the virtue of cherishing life. Please spare my life for the sake of the good words I have spoken for you. Ao Wushuang's tears flowed down as he pleaded pitifully. You've already used the good words that time. So, you don't have a chance anymore. Moreover, I have always believed that punishing evil is promoting kindness. Therefore, I am going to do good today. Jiang Tian glanced at the lightning snake chaotic flow array. He knew that the best time to break the array had arrived and could not be bothered to talk nonsense. He raised his hand and slapped Ao Wushuang and the other true dragon sect disciples into meat paste without the slightest mercy. At this time, the chaotic thunder mountain was clearly unstable. Streaks of dragon-like electric currents spread randomly and flickered indeterminately. A hint of joy appeared on Jiang Tian's face. Revered one of the world, is also here for the primal chaos source cauldron. The golden-winged eagle king cupped his fists respectfully and said, only an expert like the revered one whose strength is comparable to a nascent soul cultivator is qualified to obtain it. You are here for the primal chaos source cauldron. Jiang Tian was surprised. The primal chaos source cauldron was not in the Thunder Lake at all, but in his hands. Besides, even if the primal chaos source cauldron was inside, how could golden core cultivators like them have the qualifications to covet such a divine material? The terrifying chaotic aura contained within the primal chaos source cauldron could crush them in minutes. Besides, Lei Meng was guarding it. That's right. The news has been spreading in the North Sea recently. Everyone says that the primal chaos source cauldron used by Emperor Sheng back then is here. We came here for it. The golden-winged eagle king nodded and said. It's been spreading recently. Jiang Tian was startled, then suddenly said, oh no. Someone set a trap and lured us into it. What? The golden-winged eagle king was stunned. Although he also felt that this matter was strange, he did not expect it to be so serious. At this moment, he was very surprised. After all this time, only these few people came. And they are only golden core cultivators. There isn't even a nascent soul cultivator. It's not enough for me to eat. At this moment, an earth-shattering sound of thunder came from the chaotic Thunder Mountain. A giant Lei Meng rose into the sky with an astonishing aura. An awe-inspiring divine beast that was several hundred meters long and had a pair of wings on its back. When it flapped, it looked like a small mountain. Lei Meng. Many golden core perfected immortals were shocked. This thunder centipede had antlers, 4 eagle claws, and 2 ears like a cat's. It had a pair of bewitching golden vertical pupils that flickered with ferocious light. Its head was like a lion's, with a mane and a majestic appearance. However, its body and head were densely covered with scales. It seems that we have really fallen into a trap. The golden-winged eagle king's forehead was covered in sweat as he approached Jiang Tian. This Lei Meng was rumored to have killed several nascent soul cultivators. How could they not be afraid when they were only golden core perfected immortals? That's right. I've been waiting here for more than 10,000 years to break through to the nascent soul realm. Then, I can break through the space barrier or enter any space through your teleportation door. Although this Lei Meng had not transformed, he was beaming with joy and had a rich expression. But you are becoming more and more afraid of me, and fewer people are coming. If I don't eat your golden cores and nascent souls, how can I break through? Helpless, I can only release the news of the primal chaos source cauldron. Of course, my ultimate target is still this revered one of the West Earth, Kang Te Chu. He turned to look at Jiang Tian and smiled maliciously. We're doomed. Everyone's expression changed drastically. Their plan was not to kill Lei Meng, but to avoid him and enter the Thunder Mountain to scavenge for treasures. But now, it was a head-on confrontation. How could they withstand it? Give me your golden cores and form a divine soul contract with me. Then, get out of here and attract more people. You still have a chance to live. The Lei Meng landed on the ground and walked slowly, shaking his head and wagging his tail. He looked around arrogantly. His tone was natural, as if it was only natural. As the most powerful divine beast in the universe, even if it was young, it could even kill nascent soul cultivators. Why would it care about the golden core perfected immortals present? Lei Meng, you're indeed strong, but we have the revered one of the West Earth here. He's as powerful as a nascent soul cultivator. I'm afraid you won't be able to deal with him. King Golden-Winged Eagle's face turned pale. He pushed Jiang Tian out and said half-threateningly and half-pleadingly, why do you have to take the risk? Why don't you be merciful and let us go? We'll spread the news and attract more overlords. Isn't that the best of both worlds? There's no need for that. Lei Meng's saliva flowed to the ground and he stared at Jiang Tian greedily. Each of his divine-grade fake cores is comparable to a nascent soul cultivator. If I eat them, I'll be able to reach the peak stage of the nascent soul realm. I'll be able to break the barrier of this world with one punch and go to West Earth, the ruins of deity and the depths of the universe. Since you know I have a divine-grade fake core, you should know that you're still far from being able to kill me. Jiang Tian chuckled and said, you'd better lie down obediently and be my mount, or give me your demon core. Little venerable of the era, you're too reckless." King Golden-Winged Eagle almost fainted. He reminded Lei Meng with a bitter face. He didn't know what a divine-grade golden core was. He thought it was about the same level as a super-grade golden core. However, even though a super-grade golden core was powerful, there was no precedent of a super-grade golden core killing a nascent soul overlord. A nascent soul cultivator was already at the transition stage from a golden core cultivator to a nascent soul cultivator. Besides, this divine beast had a special bloodline and was an experienced nascent soul cultivator. It was so powerful that not even 100 golden core cultivators could defeat it. Under such circumstances, everyone should plead softly and leave if they could save their lives. How could they provoke Lei Meng like this? Little venerable of the West Earth, you're indeed powerful. Not even the exalted emperor of the deity ground had such a divine body and a divine-grade golden core. I don't have absolute confidence in a one-on-one fight. Lei Meng's face turned serious. But do you think it's a coincidence that you're here? All of this is a peerless trap for you, Kang Tae-chu. If so, why am I the only nascent soul cultivator here? There's more. When everyone heard this, it was as if they were struck by lightning. Their faces were as pale as paper. Chapter 1194. Kang Tae-chu, you little devil, I've finally lured you in. Just at this moment, another figure flew out from the depths of the disorderly Thunder Mountain like a heaven-shaking, earth-shattering rainbow. It passed through the layers of lightning bolts and landed in front of everyone. Everyone took a closer look. It was a tall, haggard old monk in a Taoist robe. He was extremely old, but the Buddhist aura behind him seemed to be substantial. He was also a nascent soul expert. Everyone vaguely felt that this person had the features of an ancient Indian, but they felt that he was unfamiliar. They had never seen him before. Old Rulai Lotus. Only the golden-winged eagle king's heart skipped a beat. He could still maintain his composure as he sent a voice transmission to Jiang Tian. Oh no, oh no. This is old Rulai Lotus. It said that he entered the Golden Core realm 1,000 years ago. Moreover, he has the Golden Rock bloodline. His speed is unparalleled, and he can transform. You're in danger. Old Rulai Lotus. Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes. He knew this person. Old Rulai Lotus. Mao Hongdia's face turned pale when she heard that. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. She didn't expect this fossil-level expert to still be alive. It was said that when he entered the small Thunderlock world 1,000 years ago, he had never appeared again. Many people said that he might have died in the mouth of demon beasts or died. She didn't expect him to still be alive. The Rulai that Jiang Tian killed had the Dharma name of Datong. His predecessor was Rulai Xian Ci, and Rulai Lotus was above Rulai Xian Ci. In other words, according to seniority, this person was Datong Rulai's grandmaster. In the history of West Earth, Rulai Lotus was much more famous than Datong Rulai. Rulai Lotus' greatest achievement was to establish the Unchained sect and establish the position of the Revered One. Originally, Buddhism was widespread in West Earth, but it was only a belief of the people. There was no system, and Rulai was Rulai. There was no Unchained sect or Revered One. However, Lord Lotus Tathagata had forcefully suppressed the various sects and countries, promoted the practice of being naked, and established the title of the Revered One of the world. On the unobstructed festival, all of the cultivators of the sects, nations, and cities of the Western Plains, as well as the monarchs and ministers of the secular world, were required to listen to sermons and receive alms. They would address Tathagata as the Revered One of the world, the paragon of the world. It was said that they were accepting alms, but in reality, they had to offer gifts as well. Moreover, the gifts they offered were far greater than the ones they had accepted. This was equivalent to acknowledging the authority of West Earth. After the Lotus Tathagata, the monarchs of the secular countries also had to be conferred titles before they could have legitimacy and exercise power. Therefore, the entire West Earth was known as the Buddhist kingdom. The religious power was even greater than the imperial power. The Buddhist private property of West Earth's Mount Layin far exceeded that of ordinary countries and sections. But at the beginning, who would be willing to accept the fate of being controlled by Golden Rock Temple? That was the result of fighting all the way. And the person who was suppressing them was none other than Lotus Rulai. It was only by relying on Lotus Rulai's power that Golden Rock Temple was able to establish its supreme position in both form and substance. Datong Tathagata was good at defending what he had achieved, but lacked in developing. In terms of cultivation, strength, and achievements, he was not enough to carry Lotus Rulai's shoes. Kang Tae-chu, you massacred Golden Rock Temple, killed Datong Tathagata, gained fame by deceiving the world and claiming to be the revered one of the world. Is that true? Lotus Rulai stared intently at Jiang Tian, his gaze filled with disbelief. This lad was so young and ordinary, yet he had such strength. Could it be that there was a mistake in the transmission? Lotus Rulai, from what I know, this young revered one of the world is Datong Tathagata's favorite disciple, and also your disciple. It's truly worth celebrating that Golden Rock Temple has a successor. There's no such thing as massacring. Golden Winged Eagle King respectfully put his palms together and said sincerely. He still wanted to help Jiang Tian. If he could pull Lotus Rulai to his side, he might have a chance of survival. I killed Datong, and if you stop me, I'll kill you too. Are you in such a hurry to reunite with Datong? Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian did not deny it. If Lotus Rulai was not eliminated, he would be a threat sooner or later. Of course, he had to get rid of him to prevent future troubles. Golden Winged Eagle King's face instantly darkened, and he complained incessantly in his heart. This young revered one of the world is too daring, and his personality is too strong. If we feign civility and refuse to admit it, we might still have a chance of survival. You really killed him? That's impossible. Lotus Rulai cried out in shock. This person seemed to have used some kind of secret technique to hide his aura, and actually had the cultivation of a fake core. But even if it was an upper-grade fake core, how could it be comparable to Datong Tathagata, who had the strength of a nascent soul? Besides, Datong Tathagata still had the 8th-division Heavenly Dragon in his hands. After 1,000 years, although the celestial Thousand Buddha Pagoda might not have reached greater mastery, the other things must have reached greater mastery. They were all comparable to a nascent soul cultivator, and could not kill Kang Tae-chu. But since you admit it, I'll definitely kill you. Lotus Rulai's eyes revealed a murderous glint. This person might have used some sinister method to kill Datong, and his murderous intent rose. You're still too weak. Jiang Tian shook his head in disdain. Lotus was a veteran nascent soul cultivator, and he was still a step away from reaching the nascent soul realm. But now, Jiang Tian was not afraid of a nascent soul cultivator, let alone him. You're just a mere ant from Yen Huang in West Earth, and you dare to be so arrogant? What if I join in? Boom! In the distance, a huge flood dragon phantom appeared in the sky and covering the earth. Then, the flood dragon phantom suddenly shrank and turned into a peerless beam of light. It was extremely fast, faster than lightning. The divine light receded, and an old man with a towering horn on his head, an emperor's crown on his head, and a dragon-scaled armor appeared before everyone's eyes. Another nascent soul cultivator. Everyone's hair stood on end as they trembled. They were completely stunned. Nascent soul. What did that mean? They were all existences that controlled an entire dimension. They were supreme existences that could destroy cities and countries with a raise of their hands. They had the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. But there were two of them here, together with Lei Meng, who had the combat power of a nascent soul cultivator. Many golden core perfected immortals felt their hair stand on end. So, it was really a trap. The Golden Winged Rock King knelt on the ground and held his head. So, we're just pitiful people who were lured by these old monsters. Their goal was to use our golden cores as resources to improve their cultivation. Did you kill these true dragon sect disciples? This old man with lofty horns on his head was surrounded by 9 surging strands of dragon chi, and he possessed a monstrous domineering aura. He glanced at the corpses of Ao Wushuang and the others with regret and asked with a frown. He also has the blood of a flood dragon. It's him. The golden-winged rock king suddenly thought of something and his face turned pale. He sent a message to Jiang Tian with his immortal will. This is the founder of the True Dragon sect, the ancestral patriarch of the True Dragon sect. I heard that he entered this world more than 2,000 years ago as a peak-stage golden core cultivator and then died. I can't believe he's still alive. It's over. It's over. We're all going to die this time. That's right. They pissed me off. I'll kill them. Jiang Tian's expression was calm, as if this was a natural thing. Very well, I've been cultivating here for 1,000 years. Many people have forgotten my name. The ancestral patriarch of the True Dragon sect approached Jiang Tian and said, "Today, I'll use your blood to pave the way for me in the ruins of deity. Ancestral patriarch of the True Dragon sect, your descendants are too weak. They only attracted 100 golden core cultivators." Lei Meng also approached Jiang Tian and said, "It's fine. Luckily, a divine-grade golden core cultivator came by accident. He's enough to push me to the nascent soul level." Wait. Jiang Tian suddenly raised his hand. "Do you want to beg for mercy?" The ancestral patriarch of the True Dragon sect stopped and sneered. "It's too late. You killed someone just now. Do you know that everyone in the True Dragon sect has the blood of the True Dragon sect? We can't be humiliated or killed." Lotus Elder also snickered and said, "Even if the ancestral patriarch of the True Dragon sect lets you go, I won't let you go. How dare you kill my disciple? How can an ant like you be the supreme of West Earth? What a joke. I'll cut you into pieces." He was definitely more powerful than Buddha of the True Dragon sect, but he wasn't as powerful as Buddha of the True Dragon sect. Buddha of the True Dragon sect didn't do anything wrong. He always talked about the equality of all living beings, but he was too protective of his disciples, which was why he was killed. However, Lord Lotus Tathagata was clearly using his strength to bully the weak. His domineering aura soared through the sky. Only such a powerful person could establish the True Dragon sect and make the entire West Earth submit to the Golden Rock Temple. Yes. It's useless to beg for mercy. I'm going to eat you. Lei Meng's saliva flowed down like a stream as he grunted. Did I beg for mercy? Jiang Tian sneered and said, "Are you sure? Just the three of you? That's not right. According to my senses, there should be 2 more nascent soul cultivators. The 3 of you aren't enough for me to kill. Come at me together. Maybe you'll still have a chance to live." Nascent soul cultivators? Why does this little supreme of world like to die so much? Hearing that, Golden-Winged Eagle King was so scared that his heart almost exploded. He felt that he had met a bad person. Everyone was also dumbfounded. Even Mao Hongdai felt uneasy, thinking that Jiang Tian was too arrogant. There were 3 of them. 2 were experienced nascent soul cultivators and 1 was a terrifying divine beast. Their strength was much stronger than Buddha of the True Dragon sect. Chapter 1195. You don't know what's good for you. Lian Sheng, ancestral patriarch True Dragon and Lei Meng were all shocked, then they sneered as if they were looking at a fool. Do you think you're so great just because you killed a few perfected immortals and grand perfected immortals? How dare you show off in front of me? You're courting death. True Dragon Patriarch snorted. Fine, fine. Come out together. Lei Meng suddenly yelled. Ancestral Patriarch Tatian, Old Monster Acheron, you 2 have been in there for so long. It's time for you to come out. Ancestral Patriarch Tatian. Old Monster Acheron. When they heard this, everyone felt a wave of fear in their hearts. Their scalps almost exploded, and cold sweat poured down their foreheads like rain. Swish! A person came from the depths of the Thunder Mountain. His body flashed and he crossed dozens of miles like a ghost and landed in front of Jiang Tian. Ancestral Patriarch Tatian was a nascent soul cultivator from the Penglai dimension who had formed his nascent soul 300 years ago. He had dominated the entire Penglai dimension for hundreds of years and was like a living fossil. He was only a step away from the nascent soul level at the moment. On the other hand, old eccentric Mingi, who was wearing a yellow robe, also flew over quickly. He stood on a mountain peak with a terrifying aura of death as he looked down coldly at Jiang Tian. Old monster Acheron came from the North Sea and was the sect master of the Hades sect. He was as powerful as the other nascent soul cultivators, and he was even more evil. He practiced an evil art called the underworld art, which could steal the vitality of the body and crush the divine soul. No one could stop him. They were all famous nascent soul cultivators from the third dimension who had dominated the world for thousands of years. Their strength was so great that it was terrifying to the extreme. Any one of them could make a world tremble and prostrate on the ground. Seeing this, the faces of the Golden Eagle King and the others turned pale and their hearts were filled with despair. It seemed that they had no chance of surviving that day. They could only become Lei Meng's food. It was too tragic. However, although the Golden-Winged Eagle King was scared out of his wits, he still had something to rely on. He mustered up his courage and cupped his fists with an apologetic smile. He cupped his fists and said with a smile, "Everyone, you're only from the third dimension and I'm a lord from the ruins of deity. Aren't you afraid that the ruins of deity will punish you for killing me? We are here to conquer the ruins of immortality. The present ruins emperor is only a lackey puppet of those things." The true dragon patriarch snorted coldly. "We entered the lightning pool world to feign death because we were dissatisfied with the ruins emperor's rule. In addition, it's to accumulate strength. Once Lightning Meng's cultivation reaches the phenomenal success stage, there's no need to worry about not being able to kill the ruins emperor. There's no need to worry about destroying his ruins emperor palace." Hearing this, Jiang Tian's eyes narrowed, and his heart moved slightly. These people actually view the ruins of immortality as their mortal enemy. What was going on? However, at the very least, I can see that the system of the ruins of immortality is not monolithic, and there are many internal conflicts. However, Jiang Tian was too lazy to care so much at this moment. They wanted to kill him, so he naturally had to fight back. Could it be that he was going to stretch out his neck and let them kill him? Are you trying to rebel? Aren't you afraid of being executed?" Hearing this, the Golden-Winged Rock King was so scared that his face turned ashen. He was dumbfounded. What's the point of talking nonsense with them? Let's kill Kong Taechu first. Lord Lotus was eager to take revenge, so he yelled angrily and was the first to attack. Buddha's Mahayana palm. Boom! He pushed out his palm, and Buddhist light shone brightly behind him. Behind him, 100-foot-tall Buddha phantom appeared, and pushed its palm toward Jiang Tian. Instantly, a boundless and surging palm energy pushed towards Jiang Tianheng, as if it could destroy everything. The Thunder Lock used to be the western heavenly gate of the deity ground, but it used to be an important place for the military and was indestructible after being strengthened by an array set up by an ancient grand cultivator. Besides, other people's power was also restrained there. But at this time, wherever the palm wind passed, the earth still cracked, the mountains shook, and a huge ravine about 5 miles long suddenly appeared. If this palm strike were to land on an ordinary world like Earth, it would probably cause the Earth to explode and wipe out an entire city into nothingness. Lotus is still so fierce after so many years. He doesn't look like a monk. What happened to being quiet and inactive? Ancestral Patriarch Sky Trampler chuckled and said with his immortal will. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon grinned and said with his immortal will, "The Ruins Emperor has been building a hyperdrive flying ship to break the dimensional barrier and reach West Earth. How can he not be afraid? How can he not be anxious? He can't even protect his life. How can he be quiet and inactive?" But before the Ruins Emperor can reach West Earth, it has already been taken away by someone from the Yan Huang tribe. I'm afraid Lotus is going to explode. Old Monster Sticks also said with his immortal will and shook his head regretfully. But that kid is also unlucky. He just became the little revered one and was lured in by Lord Lotus men. He deserves it. Seeing that the huge palm was about to land on Jiang Tian, the Luai's old monsters all laughed coldly, thinking that Jiang Tian was dead for sure. Just as Lotus Ruai's face was filled with the joy of revenge, he's too weak to withstand a blow. Boom! With a chuckle, Jiang Tian's dantian rumbled. Suddenly, the crimson vermilion bird true fire burst out like a flood. It was like a furious dragon soaring into the sky as it rushed toward Yichen. That energy was so powerful, vast and scorching that it seemed to be able to burn half of the Thunder Lock. Everyone was shocked to see that. The giant Buddha palm turned into ashes in an instant, as if it were made of paper. Then, the Suzaku true fire surged along the Buddha's arm and enveloped the entire Buddha shadow in the blink of an eye. The vermilion bird true flame was crimson red and extraordinarily hot. Everywhere it passed, terrifying ravines cracked open on the ground while rocks were blasted apart and transformed into powder. The scorching aura even forced Ancestor Heaven Trampler and the others back repeatedly. Arg! Lord Lotus was shocked and quickly retreated like a gust of wind. That Buddha Dharma form was formed by his golden core Saraira. But he wanted to kill Chen Fan in one blow, so he used half of his golden core. If the Buddha Dharma form was destroyed, his power would drop from the peak stage golden core level to the mid-stage golden core level. He wanted to use his dantian to take back the Buddha Dharma form, but it was too late. In a blink, he cast a dozen secret spells, but he still couldn't put out the Suzaku true fire. If he tried to take it back, the terrifying fire would burn his dantian. Break! Although Lotus was full of unwillingness and anger, he was so upset that he almost vomited blood. However, he still clenched his teeth and forcefully cut the Buddha Dharma form apart. They could only watch helplessly as the Buddha Dharma idol struggled and wailed in the true fire. In an instant, it was reduced to ashes. Kid, what kind of Dharma art are you practicing? What kind of evil fire is this? Lotus Tathagata still wanted to curse and vent his emotions. He couldn't believe it and couldn't accept it. Ever since he mastered the Tathagata's Mahayana palm, no one in the West Earth was a match for him. He reckoned that even if he went to the ruins of immortality or a second-grade dimensional world, he would be able to move unhindered and easily defeat his enemies. Who would have thought that he would lose miserably at the hands of a fake core brat? I don't care about the evil fire. It's enough to kill you. However, he saw Jiang Tian sneer coldly. He soared into the sky and gave chase. He was like a bolt of lightning as he charged over. I don't believe that you can kill me. The Vajra is invincible. Lord Lotus roared. His dantian rumbled as he attacked with all his might. A Buddha stepped out of his dantian, holding a Vajra pestle. Its body was emitting endless light, dazzling and resplendent. The Buddha quickly merged with Lord Lotus. It was as if it was made of diamonds and was incomparably magnificent. It raised the Vajra pestle and swung it at Jiang Tian. The Vajra pestle. The Vajra pestle was only slightly taller than an ordinary person. In terms of power and size, it couldn't be compared to the Buddha Dharma form at all. However, everyone knew that this attack was 10 times more powerful and terrifying than Lord Lotus' Mahayana palm technique. Lord Lotus had activated all of his golden core and condensed it into the shape of a Vajra. It was indestructible and could destroy everything. Buddha asked what a Vajra pestle was. Those who couldn't answer were called Vajra pestle. Buddha couldn't be discussed, nor could any Dharma. It was called Vajra pestle. At this time, the Vajra pestle hid the emptiness of the heart, the non-heart of the mind, and the non-heart of the mind. It was indestructible and could break all evil and binding. Its endless divine powers were all unleashed. The attack was condensed into a single point and its power was immeasurable. The Vajra pestle was indeed powerful, but compared to the divine beast vermilion bird that could swallow the sun and burn space, it was too far away. Crack! Crack! When the Vajra pestle smashed down, the space was annihilated and huge space cracks appeared. They were dark, deep, and strangely shaped. At this time, even if 10 aircraft carriers tried to block, they would be torn into pieces in an instant. They wouldn't be able to withstand it at all. Crack. In Jiang Tian's Dantian, several tens of thousands of feet long and extremely heavy thick earth god-suppressing chains exploded. The vermilion bird True Fire and False Core suddenly jumped. Jiang Tian's light vermilion bird completely erupted this time without holding back. Everyone only saw the light vermilion bird rushing out. The vermilion bird's claws, which were surrounded by flames, grabbed the Vajrapesal's head like an eagle catching a small mouse. The hard Vajrapesal instantly cracked and fell to the ground like gypsum powder. The vermilion bird's eyes were ferocious. It lifted the Vajrapesal up high and smashed it heavily on the ground. Lotus sank 10 meters into the hard mountain rock. Fellow Taoists, help me. Lotus Old Rulai was completely flustered. Once an expert made a move, one would know whether he was a real expert or not. From the fact that the vermilion bird fire claws could burn the Vajrapesal, he could tell that he was bound to lose this battle. Before he could finish his sentence, he had already cast the earth escape technique and leaped out from a place several miles away from the sunken ground, fleeing in front of his allies in a sorry state. It all happened in the blink of an eye. The allies who were at the nascent soul realm finally reacted and attacked the light vermilion bird, trying to save it. But it was too late. The light vermilion bird flashed and dodged all the attacks. It appeared behind Lotus Old Rulai and slashed down with its claws, cutting off one of his arms and shoulders. Then, it stepped on his head and dove down, stomping on the ground in front of Jiang Tian. Half of his head almost exploded. Fellow Taoist, please show mercy. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon and the other nascent soul realm cultivators were shocked and shouted in disbelief. Chapter 1196. The little revered one of West Earth is so terrifying. Even old Rulai Lotus couldn't withstand a single blow. The golden-winged eagle king looked up and stared at Jiang Tian in disbelief, as if Jiang Tian were a god. Old Rulai Lotus was the grand Rulai who had set the naked banquet. He was famous across the entire West Earth and his special bloodline had reached phenomenal success. He was a veteran nascent soul cultivator and was only one step away from becoming a nascent soul cultivator. He was known as the Heavenly Lord and could live for thousands of years. And yet, Jiang Tian's Dharma form was stepping on him like a dead dog. He couldn't struggle at all. Seeing this, True Dragon, Mingi, Takong and even Lei Meng were stunned. They had never thought that this would happen. Lei Meng was a divine beast with great senses. He already knew that Jiang Tian was powerful, but he didn't expect him to be this powerful. He had killed Lotus instantly. Brother, let go of Lotus. True Dragon Patriarch scolded with a cold expression. Lotus was their close ally. They had been planning for 1,000 years and they needed both of them. They certainly couldn't let Lotus be killed. Let go of him. Are you kidding me? Jiang Tian put away the vermilion bird Dharma form and stepped on Lotus's head. He wanted to kill me. Would you let me go if you captured me? If you want to save him, let's do it together. I'll fight you to the end. You. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon was enraged. Imperial Dragon Chi shot to the sky and he clenched his teeth. However, he had no choice but to force himself to calm down and swallow the vicious words that were about to come out of his mouth. Their power was on par with old Rulai Lotus. Even if they attacked together, they might not be able to kill Jiang Tian. Brother, we just want to help Lei Meng swallow the golden core and increase his power. Ancestral Patriarch Tatian had an ethereal temperament and his ethereal voice seemed to be echoing in all directions at the same time, sometimes far, sometimes close, sometimes up, sometimes down, sometimes left, and sometimes right. We have no enmity with you. The grudge between you and Lotus can be forgotten. You are still the revered one of the world in West Earth. How about this, as long as you let Lian Shen go, we will not disturb you when you enter the Thunder Lock, and you can do whatever you want. Tatian, do you know how long it'll take us to find these fake pills if he leaves? He is an innate 5 elements fake Dan. Lei Ho growled in dissatisfaction. At the very least, he could tell that Jiang Tian was only a false core stage cultivator. He was not willing to let Jiang Tian leave so easily and miss the opportunity to break through. Senior Lei Meng, if we fight, we only have a 50% chance of winning. Old Monster Sticks opened his mouth in a sinister manner. And if you devour other golden cores, you can still break through to the nascent soul stage and have the ability to break through the dimensional barrier. Why do you insist on killing him? Good. This time, I'll listen to you. Let this kid go. Lei Meng was unwilling to give up. He stared at Jiang Tian viciously, but he was convinced in the end. Even though they were discussing, one man and 4 beasts stood in different directions and surrounded Jiang Tian to intimidate him. If Jiang Tian dared to kill Lotus, they would also fight Jiang Tian to the death. Good, good, good. As the revered one of the West Earth, I'm happy to see all of you shake hands and make peace. The golden-winged eagle king wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and stood up as if nothing had happened. He cupped his fists and looked happy. He cupped his fists and said, Seniors, if you let us go, I promise to attract a large number of golden cores for you to devour. He was full of admiration for Jiang Tian. He was too powerful. Defeating the Lotus Tathagata and intimidating the 4 nascent soul cultivators was a feat that would make him proud even in the ruins of immortality. Just when everyone thought that Jiang Tian would stop after seeing what was good for him. Shake hands and make peace. The corners of Jiang Tian's mouth lifted into a mocking smile as he mocked. You can't beat me, so you want to shake hands and make peace? How can there be such a good thing? How dare you disrespect the little Rulai of West Earth? I'll kill you. Thump. The golden-winged eagle king fell to the ground again and held his head, pretending to be dead. He was so frightened by Jiang Tian that he almost fainted. Little revered one, can't we stop while we're ahead? You want to fight 5 nascent soul cultivators alone? What a joke. The others turned pale again. This kid is so arrogant. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon was so angry that his hands were trembling. He was once the ruler of the Dragon Gate world. Even the sect masters and kings in the ruins of deity didn't dare to slight him. He only needed to be careful when facing top cultivators like the Ruins Emperor or the nascent soul cultivators of the immortal sacred grounds. He had never been so disrespected by the ants of West Earth. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon, please calm down. Ancestral Patriarch Skytrampling tried to persuade him. He then looked at Jiang Tian and said with a smile, Cultivator, tell me what you want to do to let Lian Shen go. It's not impossible for us to negotiate. Jiang Tian glanced at Lei Meng and said, kill Lei Meng and give me his demon core. Then, I'll spare your lives. You brat, how dare you speak such arrogant words? Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon cursed. Everyone looked at each other and was speechless. The veins on their foreheads were throbbing. In their alliance, Lei Meng was more important than Lian Sheng. He was the foundation of their goal. Now that Jiang Tian said he would kill Lei Meng, they would rather kill Lian Sheng. Kill him. Don't forget to keep his fake demon core for me. Lei Meng was enraged and roared. The battle started again in an instant. 1 beast and 3 people. They were all nascent soul cultivators who had risen by stepping on countless bones. They used to be the dominators and overlords of a world and had rich battle experience. They all knew that Jiang Tian was powerful and none of them would be a match for him in a one-on-one fight. So, they attacked Jiang Tian at the same time and cooperated very well. Everyone was shocked when they saw that. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon's dantian vibrated and let out dragon roars. A true dragon roared and opened its mouth, trying to bite Jiang Tian. Space Arcane Art, Collapse. Ancestral Patriarch Skytrampling swayed his body and used a secret art. He crossed 10 miles and appeared next to Jiang Tian like a ghost. His palm slapped downwards, but it was actually a spatial imprint. The void was immediately annihilated, and streaks of black ravines appeared, suddenly splitting apart. Old Monster Nether River gently waved his hands and chanted an obscure spell. The water of the yellow springs in Shao Chen's dantian surged towards Jiang Tian. It was a steaming yellow, and there were vengeful spirits howling within it. White bones, corpses, and severed limbs floated up and down. It was filled with filth, deathly stillness, and misery. But Lei Meng was the most terrifying one. His 4 claws were propped up on the ground as he stretched his neck. Bolts of lightning surged from his 4 limbs and surrounded his body, causing the scales all over his body to explode like peerless heavenly blades. In the end, he opened his mouth wide, and a thick bolt of lightning that was like a giant dragon shot out, charging towards Jiang Tian with bared fangs and brandished claws. How terrifying was the power of the 4 nascent soul overlords when they worked together. The Western Heavenly Gate was an important fortress in the deity ground in the first place. There were a lot of ancient arrays left and their Dharma power hadn't been lost. It was a few times more stable than the Golden Peak and Arhat Mountain, which were important places of the Buddhist sects. If it weren't for that, the world would have been shattered by the attacks of the 4 nascent soul overlords. And yet, even though the dimension was stable, there were still some arrays exploding. The mountains immediately cracked and the ground shook violently, like the skin of a drum, and many giant cracks appeared. Oh no! Oh no! This little venerable of the era will definitely die. King Golden Winged Eagle complained. He wondered if Lei Meng would let them go after swallowing his fake elixir. It wasn't optimistic. For thousands of years, Lei Meng had relied on the golden cores of the overlords who entered this place to increase his power. This time, he was going to use a lot of energy to break the dimensional barrier. It was said that only soul formation overlords could control the dimension. Even if he ate all of them, it wouldn't be enough. Oh no! Once this little venerable of the era dies, we'll have to die with him. There was no need to mention the other golden core true immortals. All of them were so shocked that their faces turned ashen. Their hearts were cold and they were in extreme despair. Most of them came from the Beiming dimension and those old monsters didn't have any feelings for them. They wouldn't show any mercy at all. Clang! Facing the true dragon that was getting closer and closer, the raging waves of the yellow spring water, the tricky space collapse spell, and the universe thunder that arrived first despite being launched later. Jiang Tian finally made a move. You're just relying on the true dragon bloodline to forcefully simulate the true dragon Dharma form. Even if you turn into a true dragon, how can you withstand my attack? Jiang Tian said with disdain. Boom! The bright red sparrow jumped out of his dantian and flapped its wings. Endless red true fire of the red sparrow swept out and went against the true dragon Dharma form. Bang! The light vermilion bird was extremely powerful. The primordial fire it unleashed was like a peerless heavenly sword, which was even more terrifying than the grand sun primordial fire. It immediately pierced through the true dragon Dharma form, which then exploded inch by inch. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. He was drenched in cold sweat and he quickly retreated. How can he be so powerful? But while he was retreating, he felt something sweet in his throat and spurted out blood. He had already suffered a serious backlash after his Dharma form was destroyed. Jiang Tian had severely injured Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon with a casual attack. Chapter 1197. Swish! The radiant vermilion bird chased after the True Dragon Patriarch. Its wings swept across the sky like divine blades. It was extremely fast, and it slashed down from all directions at an incredible speed. The vermilion bird's claws were extremely sharp and they could easily split the earth. Its beak was also a terrifying weapon. Once it struck, it could open a hole in Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon's head and spit out flames that were several times more terrifying than the flames on the surface of its body. Suddenly, the True Dragon Patriarch was also very strong. His true dragon Dharma idol swept around and destroyed everything. However, under the radiant vermilion bird, he was immediately beaten back. He was covered in wounds and wailed in pain. He had no power to fight back at all. After the bright vermilion bird defeated Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon, Jiang Tian's dantian rumbled and a few more thick earth god-suppressing chains exploded. The Xianshui azure dragon rushed out with its mouth wide open and rushed towards the underworld spring. At this moment, the water of the nether springs had already swelled to the point it was like a boundless river that covered the sky, and it was a few thousand meters long. It coiled about and curved about, and there were countless floating limbs and vengeful spirits wailing within it. It was filthy and evil to the extreme. A few golden core overlords couldn't dodge in time and their divine souls were instantly destroyed. The water of the underworld spring swallowed all their vitality and turned them into floating corpses. The underworld Dharma form. It was a cultivation art that was said to be able to slay immortals. Even nascent soul cultivators had to avoid it and wouldn't want to get involved with it. Back in the North Sea, the Hades sect had become one of the top 3 sects because of this cultivation art. Even the Xianming sect didn't dare to challenge them. Swallow it. Jiang Tian shouted in a low voice. The Xianshui azure dragon opened its bloody mouth like a whale sucking in water. In just a few seconds, it drank all the water in the yellow spring. It even burped in satisfaction, looking like it was enjoying itself. How is that possible? Old Freak Mingy shouted in disbelief. But no matter how angry and unwilling he was, he couldn't change the cruel reality. Led by the Dharma form, Old Freak Mingy flew to the Xianshui azure dragon's mouth and could feel the heat coming out of its giant nostrils. The mountain-like head was reflected in Old Monster Nether River's constricted pupils. He was so scared that his face was as pale as paper, but he forced a flattering smile that was even uglier than crying and begged, "Brother Long, give me a chance. Don't eat me." Then, facing ancestral patriarch Takong's dimensional destruction art, Jiang Tian immediately threw a punch. This punch was as miraculous as if it was made by the heavens. It was impeccable, like an antelope hanging its horn. Although it looked simple, under Patriarch Takong's shocked gaze, it pierced through layers of space cracks and landed a punch on his chest. Even though his figure had changed continuously, he was still unable to dodge the attack. Blood spurted out of his mouth as his bones and tendons were broken. "No. If we can't beat them, we'll just run away. What a pity. We've been scheming for 1,000 years. Ancestral Patriarch Takong's face was filled with fear, desperation and frustration. He performed a dimensional secret art and ran for his life. However, before he could get far, a swaying green tree strode forward with its long, leg-like tentacles and quickly chased after him. The vines turned into dragon-binding ropes and tied him up tightly. Then, the dragon-binding rope swung and smashed Ancestral Patriarch Takong to the ground. The ground shook and a mushroom cloud rose. Ancestral Patriarch Takong screamed in agony. His bones and tendons were broken and his internal organs were crushed, turning into a mass of blood that exploded in the air. The vast true essence and vitality were instantly absorbed by the dragon-binding rope and turned into the nourishment of the azure wood. He had no power to resist at all. In the end, in the face of the dragon-like lightning, a few more thick earth god-suppressing chains exploded in Jiang Tian's dantian. Dazzling golden light gushed out of his dantian like a golden sun, illuminating everything within 100 miles. Riding on the golden Qilin beast, the divine general of Gengjin rushed out. Using the momentum of the fall, the divine general of Gengjin slashed at the giant thunder dragon. "You're the Dharma form of Gengjin, so you're not afraid of thunderbolts. But I'm not using ordinary thunderbolts. Do you want to die? Do you want to die?" The thunder mantis looked at Chen Fan with disdain as if he were looking at an ant. He spat out another thunderbolt to increase its power and lethality. Metal was the most stable substance in the universe. Ordinary thunderbolts couldn't hurt it at all. But the thunder mantis was different. It was one of the most violent energies in the universe. It was fierce and violent, disrupting and shattering all structures. It was the most difficult to control and resist. A single thunderbolt from an adult thunder mantis could destroy a part of the starry sky, which was even more powerful than a supernova explosion. Although he was only 10,000 years old and was a young thunder mantis, his thunderbolt could destroy a nascent soul cultivator. However, the thunder dragon fell to the ground like a dead snake under divine general Gung Jin's slash. The thunder dragon uncontrollably turned into tens of thousands of thin bolts of lightning and spread out, drilling into the ground and the mountains. The explosion shattered the rocks and cracked the earth, but it did not hurt Jiang Tian or Divine General Gengjin at all. How is that possible? Thunder Mantis screamed. In fact, he was right. His Thunder Mantis was on par with Divine General Gengjin's. As for who would win and who would lose, it was hard to predict. However, each of Jiang Tian's divine bodies was solid and connected with Jiang Tian's soul consciousness. Therefore, he could practice other techniques other than the divine body cultivation techniques. That slash from Divine General Gengjin just now contained the supreme technique of controlling thunder. How could he not control it with his divine body and divine arts? Thunder Mantis, your bloodline is indeed pure. Today, I'll take your supreme golden core and use it as a resource for refining the Thunder Mantis divine body. After Divine General Gengjin destroyed the lightning dragon, Jiang Tian's gaze fell on the trembling Lei Meng and he smiled softly. Everyone watching the battle was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. In just a few seconds, Jiang Tian had unleashed 4 types of divine bodies, forcing the 4 nascent soul cultivators to retreat. Moreover, Jiang Tian seemed to be playing it down, casually commenting. He clearly didn't use his full strength. This was too terrifying. Sttth. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Mao Hongdai was also shocked. Jiang Tian's power was beyond her imagination. Even the golden-winged eagle king looked as if he had seen a ghost. He muttered to himself, "My God, this is 10 times more powerful than the children of the great sects in the ruins of immortality. Your energy is so strange. It seems that you have all 5 elements. What kind of body do you have?" At this time, only Lei Meng, who had a strong physique, had not been seriously injured. However, he still looked as if he was facing a great enemy, carefully sizing up Jiang Tiandao. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said leisurely, "The 5 elements godly body is complete, the 5 innate divine grade false core. Divine body. And you have all 5 divine bodies. And a divine grade fake core." Thunder Mantis was in disbelief and said with a trembling voice. How could such a divine body be born in a fragment world like West Earth, which is lacking in spirit chi? Are you the son of a true god? What? Divine body. A divine grade fake core. The son of a true god. The golden-winged eagle king and the other golden core perfected immortals around were all confused, as if they were listening to a heavenly book. In the ruins of deity system, golden core cultivators were divided into different levels. From the 1st to the 9th grade, every 3 levels was a major grade, which was divided into low, middle and high grades. Above that was the superior grade golden core, which was very rare. Only the children of God with special bloodlines, the heirs of the immortal sacred grounds or the elites of the unparalleled sects had the chance to form the so-called supergrade golden core. Once it appeared, the entire ruins of deity would be shocked. As for the divine grade golden core, they had never heard of it. Only ancestral patriarch True Dragon, Old Lord Lotus, Ta Kong and Old Monster Mingi had been with Thunder Mantis all the time, so they had heard some rumors. Rumor had it that a divine grade golden core was more powerful than a deity grade or sacred grade golden core. Only the son of a true god in the divine realm, which was higher than the deity realm, could refine one. But the divine realm was higher than heaven and didn't belong to the same world as them, so they wouldn't come to the edge of the universe. What was more terrifying was that Jiang Tian had 5 divine grade fake cores. How was that possible? A cultivator could only have 1 fake core, a golden core. For a moment, the 4 nascent soul cultivators didn't know what to think. Jiang Tian had completely turned their worldview upside down. "No, I'm just an itinerant cultivator, a mortal," Jiang Tian said with a faint smile. "I don't care who you are. Since you've met me today, you can only be my food." Lei Meng wasn't surprised, instead, he was overjoyed. He grinned ferociously, and his vertical pupils were overflowing with killing intent. He roared and soared into the sky, spewing out lightning and thunder as he rushed towards Jiang Tian. Only then did everyone feel the terrifying power of Thunder Mantis. They knew why this area was called a forbidden area and why a few nascent soul cultivators had died here. Giant thunder dragons burst out from Thunder Mantis's body and swept in all directions. Each of them was at least 10 miles long. The terrifying thunderbolts even tore the dimensional barrier apart and hit other dimensions. The entire thunder lock had become a sea of thunder and lightning. It was shaking violently like a giant ship in the depths of the universe, shaking violently as if it were about to collapse. Chapter 1198. In the Thunderlock world, there was chaos. In the dense sea of lightning, mountains collapsed and exploded, turning into dust. Rivers and waterfalls instantly vaporized, dried up, and then turned into clouds and rain. The earth was cracking, and the earth was about 10 kilometers thick. Through the cracks, one could see the stars below and other blurry worlds. In that instant, several of the weaker golden core true immortals were triggered by the electric net, and their bodies exploded into a rain of blood and blood. The rain of blood and blood was instantly reduced to ashes by the electric net, and even their golden cores were instantly burned to ashes. Little doll, today, I'm going to chew your fake pill like it's jelly beans. I'm going to eat your flesh and blood clean. Divine body. A divine-grade golden core. I, Lei Meng, am really lucky. Lei Meng laughed and his voice was like thunder. In a blink, a few more unlucky golden core immortals vomited blood and passed out. Kill. 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 With a wave of Jiang Tian's sleeve, the 4 divine bodies, Vermilion Bird, Azure Wood, Aged Metal, and Azure Dragon, soared into the sky and roared together, shaking the sun and the moon. Under this roar, the dimensional world within a radius of 100 miles expanded, as if it was about to be broken by the terrifying power of the vast true essence. Slash. Because they were not afraid of lightning, Divine General Gengjin and Vermilion Bird were the fastest. The distance of 10 kilometers was covered in the blink of an eye and they collided with Lei Meng. Boom. The earth quaked and the mountains swayed. Huge mushroom clouds rose one after another. Red Sparrow breathed out true fire and completely enveloped Lei Meng. Then, Divine General Gengjin slashed and cut Lei Meng in half. No way. He's so powerful. He killed him instantly. Everyone exclaimed. Golden Wing Eagle King even clapped his hands and cheered, Little Venerable of the world is so domineering. Lei Meng is the most powerful divine beast in the universe and is known as the top thunder divine beast. How could he be killed so easily? Ancestor Azure Dragon struggled to stand up shakily. A complicated smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. There was some fear, some sadness, and some self-mockery. We are all old monsters who have formed our nascent souls for 1,000 years, but we were still subdued and enslaved by him, attracting countless people for him. Old Monster Sticks sighed. In the end, we even treated him as our hope to rise. His strength is not something you can imagine. Demon, you can't do it. Even if you have 5 divine bodies, you still can't do it. This is the most powerful divine beast in the universe. Lian Sheng lay on the ground and grinned hideously. However, Jiang Tian stepped on his head a few times and almost crushed it. He did not dare to speak anymore and could only gnash his teeth in anger. Mortal, you are indeed powerful. You have formed a divine-grade golden core and a divine body. However, they are not your innate bloodline. As for me, I am an innate divine beast. The second half of the Lei Meng's body quickly turned into a ball of lightning and merged with the first half of its body. It shook its scales, as if it had never been injured, and continued to charge at Jiang Tian while laughing coldly. He sneered and said, "Do you know what a divine beast is? They are born with divine blood, divine bones, and divine powers. They are extremely powerful. How can a mortal ant like you, who dreams of ascending to the heavens, be compared to him?" He roared and swung his claw. Boom! Divine General Gengjin was knocked 10 miles away. Bang, bang, bang. Divine General Gengjin crashed into a mountain and mushroom clouds rose. He didn't stop until he hit somewhere and didn't get up for a while. You're just a mortal. Even if you have a divine grade golden core and a divine grade golden core, you're still a mortal and not a god. All of a sudden, Lei Meng stood up on his hind legs and continued to expand, reaching a height of 1,000 meters. He had the head of a lion and the body of a human. He still had a pair of dragon horns, but his facial features were very similar to a human's. Although his body had turned into that of a human, with 2 legs and 2 feet, his 4 talon-like claws were still there. Shiny scales covered his entire body, making him look like the world's most exquisite and tough armor. Thick bolts of lightning encircled his body, and his demonic vertical pupils shot out beams of divine light that resembled lamp posts. He walked over steadily, and sent the vermilion bird flying with a punch of lightning. The fiery red feathers that filled the sky fluttered and fell. Lei Meng was full of arrogance and disdain. He said, "Ant, mortal. Do you want to become a god? Dream on. As far as I know, no mortal has been able to ascend to the divine realm in 10,000 years. You're too weak." Swoosh. Thousands of dragon-binding ropes shot out and wrapped around Lei Meng tightly. Whirling divine tree, so scary. So impressive. Lei Meng gave a ferocious grin. Suddenly, his 6 arms shook at the same time, and his muscles bulged. His body expanded rapidly, forcibly bursting the dragon ropes. At this moment, he had grown to a height of 1,500 meters. However, in my eyes, you're just a piece of wood. With a kick, Lei Meng sent the dancing divine tree flying thousands of meters away. Countless branches were broken, and a large crack appeared on the trunk. Roar! The black water-green dragon was fearless. It shook its head and wagged its tail as it rushed forward. Come down! Lei Meng shouted coldly and soared 10,000 meters into the air. His foot tore through the clouds and descended from the sky, stomping the black water-green dragon's head into the ground. At this moment, he was only a few hundred meters away from Jiang Tian. It was like a demon god looking down at an ant. It was a great visual impact. It's over. The little revered one of West Earth is going to die here. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded and felt desperate. Mao Hongye's face turned pale and her eyes were red. She was so anxious that she was about to cry. Cute little bug. Lei Meng twisted his head from side to side. The joints of his cervical vertebrae rubbed against each other, producing crackling noises that sounded like beans being popped. His domineering and ferocious aura was as strong as a tide, spreading in all directions and filling the Thunder Lock within 100 miles. His demonic vertical pupils stared at Jiang Tian as he spoke with a disdainful expression. If your 5 elemental false cores were combined into one, it would be a deity grade or sacred grade golden core. I would have to be careful of you. But if the 5 elemental divine bodies are separated, their power can't be increased. Why don't you form a golden core? You don't know how to do it. Interesting. Jiang Tian smiled. The Thunder Beast was indeed the strongest Thunder Beast in the universe. It was strong enough to be on par with the 4 divine bodies in a one-on-one fight. How dare you laugh? How can you laugh? Do mortals always like to bluff? Lei Meng yelled and a terrifying energy came down from the sky. The reason why I don't form a deity grade or sacred grade golden core is that I want to gather 9 divine grade false cores to form a chaotic golden core. Jiang Tian smiled and said. The connate 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth are not enough. I want wind, thunder, ice, and darkness. And you're the material I need to form a thunder elemental false core. What? At this moment, Lei Meng was suddenly alerted. His body tensed and his scales stood up. He took a step back. But it was too late. Earth Dragon, appear. With a low shout, Jiang Tian's body suddenly expanded. The Earth Dragon Dharma form appeared and merged into one. It had a dragon's head and a human's body. It was more than 10,000 feet tall. 10,000 feet tall. 50 miles was several times taller than the Himalayas. If he were to lie down, he would occupy half of the Thunder Loch. Compared to him, Lei Meng, who used to be mighty and extraordinary, was as weak as a 3-year-old child. Oh God! All the bodies of heavenly lords are nothing more than this. At that moment, True Dragon Ancestor, Old Monster Styx River, and Old Rulai Lotus were all dumbfounded, not daring to believe it. Even the Golden-Winged Eagle King was shocked to the extreme. He only felt that the scene in front of him made him dizzy and his mind almost exploded. The fact that Jiang Tian had multiple golden cores and multiple Dharma Laksana was already incredible to the extreme. At this moment, Jiang Tian unleashed the last winged dragon Dharma body. It was so powerful that it could destroy the heavens and the earth. Well, fellow Taoist, actually, I can be your cute pet. Think about it. Lei Meng raised his head and smiled flatteringly. At this moment, his smile was uglier than his crying face. He was so scared that his whole body was trembling. It's too late. Besides, you're not cute enough. You're too ugly. Jiang Tian, who had merged with the Earth Dragon Dharma form, grinned and pulled out a small stone cauldron from his dantian. Chaotic Source Stone. Why do you have this? Lei Meng screamed. His eyes were filled with fear. Even if Jiang Tian had used the Earth Dragon Dharma form, he still thought he had a chance of survival. But when Jiang Tian pulled out the Chaotic Source Stone Cauldron, Lei Meng lost all hope. This wasn't something he could resist. Boom! Jiang Tian didn't say anything. His eyes were cold. The Chaotic Source Stone Cauldron swallowed the primordial aura and smashed down. Run! Lei Meng was scared out of his wits. He flapped his huge wings and rushed toward the chaotic thunder mountain like lightning. Clang! The Chaotic Source Stone Cauldron expanded rapidly. Lei Meng ran fast, but the Chaotic Source Stone Cauldron expanded even faster. Lei Meng only ran a mile before he was pinned to the ground by the primordial aura. No! He could only roar. He raised his hands to the sky and spat out a beam of lightning from his mouth. He wanted to break through the Chaotic Source Stone Cauldron like a peerless heavenly sword. But the lightning that could shatter divine mountains and shatter the earth didn't leave a single mark on the Chaotic Source Stone Cauldron. The Chaotic Source Stone Cauldron expanded to the extreme. Countless primordial aura fell, and each of them could destroy a golden core. There were at least tens of thousands of primordial aura flowing down from the Chaotic Source Stone. This meant that if Jiang Tian completely unleashed the power of the Chaotic Source Stone Cauldron, it wouldn't be a problem to kill tens of thousands of golden core. Of course, this was the power of divine materials and Dharma treasures. It wasn't Jiang Tian's true ability. Even if Jiang Tian had 5 divine bodies and refined 5 divine-grade fake elixirs, his battle strength could only deal with 100 golden core and 1 or a few nascent soul cultivators. If 10,000 golden core cultivators attacked together, Jiang Tian wouldn't be able to withstand it. Boom! Lei Meng raised his hands and wanted to fight, but no matter how many secret techniques he used, he couldn't turn the situation around. The Chaotic Source Stone Cauldron smashed down like a mountain. In almost a second, his arms exploded and blood splashed. Then, his head shattered and his neck broke. In the next moment, his chest exploded and his ribs pierced through his scale-covered stomach and back. His entire body was smashed into the ground. He's dead. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this. They couldn't believe it, as if they had seen a ghost. Chapter 1199. On the ground, there was a majestic mountain that one could only look up at. It pierced through the clouds, and around the foot of the mountain, there was a huge ditch. Many abandoned palaces and fortifications were falling into the ditch. Lei Meng had disappeared from where he was. He was suppressed by the mountain. He was actually killed so easily. Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. It was said that Lei Meng was invincible in this world. There were even rumors that nascent soul heavenly lords had died in his hands. But now, he was killed by a fake core cultivator in a few seconds. It was like a joke. Dead. How could this be? Ancestral patriarch True Dragon murmured. Dead. Old monster Mingy nodded. He had to accept this sad reality. No, they won't die so easily. They are the hope of our revival. Lianxing screamed as tears fell down his face. Suddenly, there was a rumbling sound at the foot of the chaotic thunder mountain in the distance. Thick lightning bolts lingered on the ground. The ground was undulating as if there was an earth dragon rolling. The moment countless stones and soil flew up, Lei Meng's twisted body flew out. He drew a straight line in the air and fled into the depths of the chaotic thunder mountain. At this time, Lei Meng's body was partially repaired, but he was still seriously injured. One of his claws was stuck to his back like a piece of paper. One of his legs was cut off and could not be reattached. Sparkling blood flowed down, and there were flashes of lightning in it. However, his wings had been reattached, and he was not slow. It would only take a few seconds for him to enter the chaotic thunder mountain. There is a thunder array outside the chaotic thunder mountain. It will be difficult to fight inside. The golden-winged Eagle King reminded him loudly. Golden Eagle King. Shut up. Lian Sheng's eyes were fierce. He couldn't wait to tear Golden Eagle King into pieces. In fact, there was no need for Golden Eagle King to remind him. Jiang Tian also knew this. He smiled coldly and said, "He can't run away." Where Jiang Tian was standing, the ground suddenly caved in, forming a deep pit with a radius of 10 miles. Around the deep pit were shocking fissures, as if even the myriad stone cauldron was about to be overturned. The next moment, Jiang Tian was no longer in the pit. Everyone looked up and saw a small black dot in the sky, shooting in the direction of Chaotic Thunder Mountain. Whoosh! The myriad origin cauldron was suddenly taken away by Jiang Tian. It soared into the sky and became smaller and smaller. Soon, it disappeared from everyone's sight. Rumble. With an earth-shattering sound, Jiang Tian landed in the middle of the Chaotic Thunder Mountain like a comet with a long tail. The Chaotic Thunder Mountain, which had a radius of 10 li, directly collapsed into a mess, disappearing from the ground. What replaced it was a tall mountain formed by the myriad origin stone. The Chaotic Lightning Mountain was actually erased by Jiang Tian using the myriad origin stone cauldron. Whether it was the formations, the restrictive spells, the demon soldiers, or the beautiful concubines that Lei Meng enjoyed, they were all reduced to dust in an instant. The mountain formed by the myriad origin stone was still expanding, pushing, and pushing. The surrounding ground rippled outwards like water waves. It was forcefully pushed out of hills, peaks, gullies, and rivers. At this time, Lei Meng's body had yet to stop moving. With a loud bang, he crashed into the mountain wall that was pushing towards him. He fell to the ground with broken bones and broken tendons. Revered one of the world, I'm a divine beast. Isn't being your pet and mount enough sincerity? Isn't it enough to be your servant? Why do you have to kill me? At this time, Lei Meng was truly terrified. He wanted to cry but had no tears. When he looked up, he saw Jiang Tian, who was 10,000 zhang tall, looking down at him as if he was an ant. He didn't expect Jiang Tian to be so powerful that he could destroy his nest and the chaotic thunder snake array formation that he had refined for 1,000 years. Whether it's a mount or a servant, it's still an external object. It's not as powerful as the divine body I refined from your monster core. Jiang Tian's divine body of the winged dragon, his demonic vertical pupils were emotionless and cold. His voice was like thunder, shaking the heaven and earth. Qi! Lei Meng's body suddenly swayed and turned into a stream of light. With rolling thunder, he flew towards the distance. His target was Mao Hongdai. I've captured your disciple. Let's see how you're going to act against me. I'm not going to kill you. I just want to sign up. Why do you have to be so aggressive? This girl is really something. But it's a pity. Lei Meng lived up to his name as the #1 lightning divine beast. His innate ability allowed him to move faster than lightning. A distance of dozens of miles was covered in a few seconds. In fact, Jiang Tian and Lei Meng's combat power was too terrifying. This Leisure world was too small. It was like a small house that they couldn't use their full strength. However, he had just flown 10 miles when suddenly, the dancing azure tree came at him from the side. The dragon-binding azure rope wrapped around him and tied him up tightly. Humph, I could have broken your vines just now. Why are you still bothering me? Do you want to die? Lei Meng's face was full of contempt and mockery. His body shook violently, and thunder and lightning burst out, trying to destroy the dancing azure tree. But it didn't budge. The dragon-binding azure rope was like an arm. It lifted Lei Meng up high and slammed him heavily to the ground. Rumble. A huge mushroom cloud rose into the sky. Lei Meng's body, which was more than 10,000 feet tall, left a huge pit with a radius of several miles on the ground. In the huge pit, Lei Meng vomited blood and roared, "Motherfucker, you tricked me." At this moment, he finally understood. He had never been able to break the azure dragon-binding azure tree. Just now, Jiang Tian had deliberately shown weakness to lure him into the encirclement. Sure enough, as he had guessed, he had just turned his body into a bolt of lightning, passed through the dragon-binding azure rope, and soared into the sky. Smack! The Xianshui azure dragon arrived and swept its huge tail with the force of a river. It hit Lei Meng like a hockey player, sending him rolling on the ground. Divine General Gung Jin attacked again and added another blow, sending Lei Meng flying into the air. The crisp sound of bones breaking was heard. His body twisted strangely and fell at Jiang Tian's feet. Rumble. Jiang Tian picked up the stone cauldron of myriad origin and smashed it down again. Lei Meng screamed and couldn't dodge at all. Jiang Tian lifted the stone cauldron of myriad origin. Lei Meng's head was broken and his bones and tendons were broken. His body was broken into countless pieces and he was on the verge of death. The divine beast's blood stained the ground and he could no longer form a body, let alone fight back. You've beaten me so badly. You want my monster core? I won't let you get away with it. Lei Meng was gasping for breath, his face twisted in pain, but he still glared at Jiang Tian with hatred, his face resolute. Explode! A low roar came out of his mouth. Suddenly, everyone's face turned pale and they cried out in shock as they quickly retreated. He's going to explode his monster core. Get out of the way. He was a powerful divine beast at the nascent soul level, far more powerful than ordinary nascent soul overlords. If his golden core exploded, it would be equivalent to 10 or even 100 nuclear bombs exploding at the same time. The entire Thunderlock world would be destroyed in an instant. Little revered one of the West Earth, you're silly. You've killed us. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon sighed and beat his chest. Old Rulai Lotus laughed sinisterly, his face full of disdain as he mocked, "Brat Yen Huang, you have no idea how strong Lei Meng is. Shaking hands and making peace would have been the best outcome, but you had to be so aggressive. Now, we're all going to die. Do you regret it? Who could withstand the explosion of a divine beast's monster core? Even if Jiang Tian's divine body was strong enough to withstand it, this world would be destroyed. All the space tunnels leading to different dimensions would be destroyed. Jiang Tian would fall into the empty vacuum of the universe. Unless he had the power of a soul formation cultivator who could tear the space apart and travel across the universe with his body, he would die. Ha, do you think you can control it? Swallow. With a low shout, Jiang Tian's soul devourer erupted, forming a frightening underworld gate that floated in the void and enveloped Lei Meng. What's that? Lei Meng was shocked. Then, he saw the scenery on the ground and his body become smaller and smaller as his vision rose higher and higher. And the underworld gate was already close at hand. No. Don't kill me. I'm convinced. I'm completely convinced. Lei Meng's divine soul, which was as small as a fetus, cried out in pain. His nascent soul, which had just formed, kept trembling. The nascent soul of a nascent soul cultivator was called a nascent soul. It was already very powerful, but it couldn't withstand a single blow from the Een Gate. He felt the terrifying suction and devouring power of the Een Gate. It was like a black hole that he couldn't break free from. He could even hear the deep roars of the three-eyed demon that the soul devourer had imitated. He could see the three-eyed demon's greedy eyes and its saliva flowing like a stream. The Een Gate was the result of Jiang Tian's soul swallow's divine consciousness being extremely powerful. During the battle with Ming Rui, Jiang Tian had only used the soul devourer to simulate a three-eyed demon god, and it had caused her many auxiliary vengeful spirits to manifest and break her Tao heart that was as firm as a rock. After Jiang Tian absorbed part of the chaotic energy from the galaxy crystal sand and the cauldron of creation, he created the earth dragon body and formed 5 fake elixirs. His soul swallow also became stronger. Furthermore, Jiang Tian's sea of consciousness originally contained the demonic qi of the dancing tree. After Jiang Tian used the demonic cultivation technique, the unrestrained heavenly demonic art, he merged the demonic qi and the demonic qi into one, refining it to the limit and forming this underworld shadow gate. With Jiang Tian's current power, he couldn't connect this gate to the dark underworld deep in the universe. After all, only soul formation grand cultivators could control space. And yet, even if Jiang Tian simulated a bit of power, it would be easy to deal with normal divine souls. It was several times more powerful than the original soul swallow. So, when Jiang Tian used this gate to deal with the Yiksha above Mount Luohan, which was best at devouring divine souls, he almost defeated it with a snap of his fingers. The divine soul of a divine beast was very powerful, not to mention that he was already a nascent soul cultivator. As long as his divine soul existed, he wouldn't be afraid even if he lost his body or his golden core. He could still find a body and possess it. And yet, at this moment, Lei Meng felt that his nascent soul was about to be devoured and he almost cried. He's actually convinced. Golden-Winged Rock King was dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. This was Lei Meng, who was famous in all the multidimensional worlds, but he was convinced by the little overlord of West Earth. If he doesn't accept it, his body and soul will be destroyed and he will disappear from this world completely. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon smiled bitterly and his face turned pale. He can even devour the souls of divine beasts. Ancestral Patriarch Nether River also mumbled in shock. His Yellow Spring art was also a cultivation art that specialized in devouring souls and cutting off vitality. It could even kill nascent soul cultivators by chance. But when they fought hundreds of years ago, it couldn't do anything to Lei Meng's divine soul. Lei Meng's divine soul was as heavy as a mountain and as firm as a rock. And yet, Jiang Tian's Een Gate was about to devour Lei Meng's divine soul in a snap of his fingers. Compared to Jiang Tian's soul-devouring power, he only felt that his underworld art was too weak to withstand a single blow. It was trash to the extreme. Chapter 1200. It's over. With Lei Meng's death, our 1,000-year plan is ruined. We can only become slaves under the rule of the Ruins Emperor. Old Rulai Lotus looked up to the sky and sighed. Tears streamed down his face as he trembled in grief. Master, you are wise and mighty, handsome and confident. Why lower yourself to my level? Little Lei already knows his mistake. As long as you spare Little Lei's life, Little Lei will definitely be loyal to you. I'll do whatever you want me to do. However, just as Lei Meng's nascent soul was howling in agony and was just inches away from the Een Underworld Gate, the Een Underworld Gate slowly closed amidst the unwilling howls of the soul-devouring three-eyed demon god. Your soul is also a gifted soul and has naturally inherited many lightning elemental techniques. I'll spare your life and let you be the spirit of the array or artifact. Jiang Tian sighed and decided to keep Lei Meng's soul. Thank you for sparing my life, Master. Little Lei will definitely do his best. Lei Meng's soul jumped onto Jiang Tian's huge palm that was covered in scales. Like a pet, he acted cute and fawned over Jiang Tian. Losing his flesh, demon core, and cultivation, leaving behind only his nascent soul, he was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. However, he had no other choice. Only by following Jiang Tian and performing well might he have a chance to recondense his corporeal body. Otherwise, his soul would be destroyed and he would disappear completely. Okay. Jiang Tian nodded. A soul-devouring tentacle burst out from his forehead and swept Lei Meng's soul in. Big brother, don't hit me. We're both souls. Why do you have to make things difficult for souls? The moment Lei Meng entered Jiang Tian's consciousness, the soul-devouring monster immediately transformed into a monster as tall as a mountain and attacked him. It beat him up so badly that he cried for his parents. Jiang Tian returned to his normal form and landed on top of Lei Meng's huge body. In the blink of an eye, a few divine bodies entered Jiang Tian's dantian like tired birds returning to their nest. Under the suppression of the thick earth god suppressing chains, Jiang Tian's aura didn't leak out at all. He looked like an ordinary person. However, at this moment, who would dare to treat him as an ordinary person? Jiang Tian stood proudly in the air with his hands behind his back. He looked at Ta Kong, Elder Zhenlong, Old Monster Mingi, Old Rulai, and the rest and said indifferently, I killed Lei Meng, stole his gold core, and enslaved his soul. Do you accept this? As a matter of fact, the three nascent soul formation stage cultivators had been scared out of their wits by Jiang Tian's techniques and power. They wanted to run away, but they didn't dare to. Jiang Tian had even slain the supreme divine beast, Thunder Centipede. With his strength, he could easily sweep through many level 3 and even level 2 dimensional worlds. How could they have the ability to resist? Hearing Jiang Tian's question, the true dragon patriarch hurriedly knelt on the ground and said respectfully, we have no objections. We will follow the heavenly monarch's orders. He understood that Jiang Tian's cultivation should be at pseudo-core. Moreover, he had 5 pseudo-cores. The 5th level of foundation establishment was just a facade. Since he was at pseudo-core, he should be called a perfected cultivator. However, Jiang Tian's combat power was not inferior to that of a nascent soul stage cultivator. Of course, he would call him Heavenly Monarch to show respect. I, your disciple, submit. Seeing that, Old Monster Mingi also knelt on the ground. Old Monster Mingi was still unwilling, but the situation forced him to bow and put his palms together to show respect. If he submitted, he could still keep his life. If he didn't, he would only be killed by Jiang Tian. There was no chance of survival at all. Jiang Tian stepped forward with his hands behind his back and asked, I injured you and killed your companions. Do you accept this? Yes, I accept. I accept. The true dragon patriarch said with a trembling voice. Old Monster Mingi kowtowed. I killed Old Monster Mingi and became the revered one of the West Earth. Do you, Old Monster Mingi, accept this? Jiang Tian stepped forward and grabbed the chaotic source stone cauldron. He held it in his hand and faced Old Monster Mingi. The initial chaotic aura was like a god descending to the mortal world. I, your disciple, accept. I accept this wholeheartedly. Old Monster Mingi couldn't hold on any longer. His knees went soft, and he knelt on the ground. He actually, seeing that, everyone felt like they were dreaming. They couldn't believe it. So many twists and turns. Who would have thought that he would be able to turn the tables? Golden Rock Eagle King clapped his hands and sighed. He felt that he had never seen anything as exciting as that day. This little revered one of the West Earth was so domineering. He killed Lei Meng alone and forced the 3 rulers of a world to submit. At that moment, he also wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. He was still scared. When Lei Meng and the 4 nascent soul old monsters attacked, he really wanted to kneel and beg for mercy. He wanted to stand opposite of Jiang Tian. After all, Jiang Tian's combat power was only at the false core stage. Although he could kill perfected Lord Green Wolf, he couldn't face a nascent soul divine beast and 5 rulers head-on. But he was worried that even if he joined Lei Meng's side, he wouldn't be able to escape death. Therefore, he could only grit his teeth and persevere. He didn't expect that he had made the right bet. How was this little revered one of the West Earth? He could be called a Tao ancestor in the ruins of immortality. One day, if this master kills his way to the ruins of immortality, won't we be able to do whatever we want with him? Golden Rock Eagle King thought happily. He ignored the pain and injuries on his body caused by the aftermath of the battle and stood behind Jiang Tian. He put his hands on his hips and looked around proudly. Since you've submitted, I'll spare your lives for now. Jiang Tian also placed the chaotic source stone cauldron in his dantian and landed on the ground. Tell me, why did you abandon your overflowing authority like a pair of worn-out shoes, hide in this world, and willingly become the servants of a divine beast? The four of them were all experienced nascent soul-old monsters. They each had their own strengths. In terms of strength, Buddha Datong was slightly stronger, and Ming Rui, Qi Liao, and Bai Zhe couldn't compare to him. If they were loyal, they would also be useful. Of course, if they had ulterior motives, Jiang Tian naturally had a way to deal with them. Old Monster Nether River, Patriarch Azure Dragon, and Buddha Lotus looked at each other, puzzled. Who exactly was this master? There were some things that they didn't dare to say casually. Get up. Jiang Tian smiled warmly and said, just tell me the truth. I'm not the kind of person to kill the innocent. Buddha Lotus stood up, but he still bowed slightly and asked tentatively, may I ask if the revered one of the world is from the ruins of immortality? No. Jiang Tian shook his head. Hearing that, the four of them instantly relaxed and heaved a sigh of relief. Patriarch True Dragon said, revered one of the world, I was the ruler of the Dragon Gate world in the third grade dimension under the Ao Emperor of the ruins of immortality. The traitor of the ruins of immortality. Wait, who is the Ao Emperor? I heard that the ruins Emperor is in charge now. Jiang Tian frowned. He doesn't even know about the Ao Emperor. Could he be an expert from another world? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. The Ao Emperor is the successor of the Sheng Emperor. If you want to talk about the Ao Emperor, you have to start from the Sheng Emperor. However, the True Dragon Patriarch suppressed the shock in his heart and coughed to explain. When man was born, the world was connected. When man was born, the world was connected. When man was born, the world was connected. To put it simply, the ancient earth and the deity ground were connected by the path of heaven. They could communicate at any time in a day. The deity ground was controlled by the Yellow Emperor. A famous evil god, Qiyu, was born in the deity ground. He came to the ancient earth and rallied the Miao people and Magi to fight the deity ground. During the war, the Yellow Emperor went to the world and killed Qiyu. His grandson, Zhuanqiu, injured the leader of the Magi, Jiufeng. When Yu the Great arrived, the human race was at its peak. But maybe before Yu the Great, or even Yao Shun, there were already enemies from another world invading the ancient earth. The spirit Qi on the ancient earth was declining. Rumor has it that a rare treasure entered the planet and devoured the spirit Qi. This history was from tens of thousands of years ago, or even hundreds of thousands of years ago. Even though Patriarch True Dragon had lived for a few thousand years, he had never experienced it himself. He had only heard about it from the seniors. However, perhaps because he had heard too much, he still had lingering fears. His face was pale, and his hands were trembling slightly. Rumor has it that the enemies from another planet were extremely powerful. They could travel across the universe with their bodies and their Dharma powers were profound. They were also extremely vicious and could devour all lives. At that time, the enemies from another planet region attacked and the spirit Qi on the ancient earth was declining. Everyone's power stopped at the nascent soul level. Under such circumstances, the ancient earth was no longer suitable for cultivators to live on. Jiang Tian thought to himself. The invaders were most likely the annihilators. At that time, Emperor Zhongli was on par with Yu the Great. He was given an order. First, he cut off the connection between the ancient earth and the deity ground to prevent the invaders from going to the deity ground along the path of stars. But Yu the Great stayed on Earth and continued to protect the human race. Second, he built an array at the bottom of the deity ground and part of the ancient Earth and the deity mountains overseas. He started to wander the universe and his target was the South Gate twin stars. Wait. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed as he asked, are you saying that the deity ground didn't belong to the ancient earth in the first place? What I said is just a legend. Ancestral patriarch True Dragon nodded and said. The deity ground used to be the place where the deities and entities lived. Although Emperor Sheng could sacrifice the freedom of the deities and true gods by cutting off the connection, there would be less trouble and the stability of the ancient earth would be maintained. Because at that time, many entities in the deity ground had already joined the overlords from other planets and attacked the weak humans on the ancient earth. However, in the process of advancing, our predecessors were intercepted by alien races and suffered heavy casualties. Besides, some of the deity mountains used up their energy during the process. To avoid being attacked by their natural enemies, they built dimensional barriers and folded dimensions, turning them into dimensional worlds. A glint of sadness flashed in his eyes and he said respectfully, this is the West Gate of the West Gate. This is the Western Heavenly Gate in the deity ground. It's an important city that is connected to the multidimensional worlds. They were also attacked by the overlords from other planets. Legend has it that when they were defeated, Emperor Sheng, or one of the predecessors on the Skeleton Hill, used a powerful divine power to close the dimensional barriers. Only a few thunder mantises were left behind. What level was Emperor Zhongli at? Jiang Tian thought for a while and asked with a glint of coldness in his eyes. That Emperor Zhongli was definitely powerful. Not even a soul formation cultivator would be able to travel between continents and planets. Chapter 1201. That may have happened tens of thousands of years ago, or even hundreds of thousands of years ago. A lot of history has been buried in history, and I don't know how powerful the Shang Emperor was. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon said. It's just that it's said that the Shang Emperor and many other ancient deities could move mountains, carry moons, move mountains, fill seas, and turn land into rivers. They probably didn't go through the tribulation and didn't descend to the deity realm, but they were definitely much more powerful than the soul formation stage. I'm afraid they were Tao reunion true ancestors. Jiang Tian pondered. Maybe Zhongli didn't choose to ascend to the deity realm. He didn't do it for himself, but for the human race on Earth. After countless brutal battles, Zhongli thought that the enemy was too powerful and the entire deity ground and the multidimensional worlds would be destroyed. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon heaved a sigh. In order to protect his descendants, he passed the throne of the deity land to Ao Sovereign. Then, he led 3,000 disciples to open another path in the space warp ship and sailed to the other side of the starry sky. A spaceship? That kind of spaceship can travel through the universe at a speed faster than the speed of light. Only a true god can build and drive it. Jiang Tian was shocked. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon said. But rumor has it that the spaceship wasn't built by the human race on Earth or the deity ground. It was found by the Shang Emperor by accident. But as for which race or who left it behind, it has already been buried in the dust of history. Ao Emperor. Jiang Tian asked, he's a monster, right? That's right. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon said proudly. In ancient times, it was an era where great demons and humans lived side by side. Ao Emperor was the most powerful Tao reunion cultivator of the dragon race and the right-hand man of the Shang Emperor. Ahem, he's also my ancestor. Ao Emperor created the heaven and earth cage around Earth. While he was pushing the deity ground forward, he used the reverse force of the propulsion array to push many surveillance Dharma artifacts around Earth, waiting for the spirit chi of ancient Earth to recover. So, you waited for the spirit chi to recover so that you could come and take over their territories and enslave them? Jiang Tian sneered, his eyes flashing with killing intent. The true dragon patriarch trembled in fear and hurriedly knelt on the ground. That's not Ao's sovereign's intention. He had always regarded Earth as his mother planet and homeland. I didn't want anyone to hurt me, so I had no choice but to leave Earth. He wanted to use the confinement of heaven and earth as a declaration of safety to the civilizations of the universe, to show that the people on Earth were not strong enough to become cultivators and could only stay below the building foundation stage. However, he had always been looking forward to the revival of the ancient Earth's spiritual chi. He wanted to return the multidimensional worlds to the ancient Earth and rebuild the glory of the great cultivation planets. Unfortunately, he didn't manage to wait for that day to come. He waited for the ancient Earth to wither and become a lifeless dead planet. He died in tears. However, I've heard that the ruins of immortality are ready to attack Earth at any time. Moreover, anyone who wants to reach Earth will have a great merit. Jiang Tian said coldly. Little revered one, you are mistaken. This is an order from the Ruins Emperor. The Ruins Emperor is the one who completely destroyed the foundation of the Sheng and Ao sovereigns and cut off the cultivation seedlings of the ancient Earth. The true Dragon Patriarch explained with tears in his eyes. The Sheng Emperor chose the South Gate twin planets because the deity ground and the ancient Earth were already in contact with them before the disaster. In an older age, the South Gate twin planets even sent their disciples to the deity ground to learn cultivation arts. The cultivation civilization of the South Gate twin planets was very backward back then. It couldn't be compared to the deity ground or even the ancient Earth. Jiang Tian was startled. Mao Hongdai was also in disbelief. It turned out that the South Gate twin planets had intelligent life forms and were cultivators. It wasn't an empty, lifeless planet region. However, everything changed when we arrived at the South Gate twin planets and entered the orbit of the planets after a long time and thought we could rebuild our home. Millions of nascent soul cultivators and 1,000 soul formation overlords from the South Gate twin planets immediately arrived at the deity ground and carried out an inhumane massacre. They killed the Ao sovereign and destroyed the heavenly court. After 10,000 years of fighting, the entire deity ground was reduced to ruins and all the deities and humans were enslaved. From then on, the deity ground was called the Ruins of Deity. We are a small dimensional world in the system of the Ruins of Immortality. Dragon Gate, Northern Sea, Penglai, Yingzhou. Our speed is much slower. When we received Ao Huang's message, we immediately destroyed the propulsion array and stopped in the desolate universe. Tears streamed down his face as he wailed in agony. However, the dimensions didn't stop sailing for a day or two, but for decades. It was called the Age of Emergency. In the era of emergency shutdown, the climate changed abruptly. Spiritual energy was sometimes violent and sometimes thin. The weather was sometimes hot and sometimes cold. The continents were shattered. Storms, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions broke out one after another. Magma flowed across the land like an ocean. Countless of our people were killed or injured. Half of them died. Jiang Tian felt sad after hearing that. That was the cruel and cold truth of the universe. Resources were limited, but there was no limit to civilization's desire to expand. Invasion and war were the eternal themes in order to survive. Maybe the Sheng Emperor wasn't just afraid of the universe annihilator. He might have guessed the outcome of the South Gate twin planets. However, he only had one hyperdrive flying ship, which could only accommodate a few thousand people. A cold light flashed in Jiang Tian's eyes as this thought appeared in his mind. But he didn't want to believe it. In his mind, the Sheng Emperor was already a great hero. Abandoning his people was obviously a deserter. But we still couldn't escape the fate of being exterminated and enslaved. The robbers of the South Gate twin planets called themselves the Emperor of the Ruins after they occupied the deity ground. They continued to invade the dimensions and completely enslaved them. I used to be the dominator of the Dragon Gate world. But I couldn't accept the fate of being enslaved, and I didn't want to see my people and descendants become slaves, too. After discovering the existence of the Thunderlock world 1,000 years ago, we entered that world. The Thunder Chi is said to be an extremely rare thunder divine beast in the universe. It can kill soul formation cultivators after it reaches the nascent soul level. When it reaches adulthood, it's invincible. I'm an incompetent old man, so I put my hopes on it. I hoped it could steal golden cores and raise nascent souls, but... Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon shook his head with a bitter expression and said, "We met the little revered one of West Earth. I thought the sect master of the heavenly god was resisting the invaders, but now it seems that he was resisting the Emperor of the Ruins. There was a lot of information in what ancestral patriarch True Dragon said. Jiang Tian pondered and mumbled to himself. In the Heavenly Star Small World, the sect master of the Heavenly God had split the One-Sword Valley 1,000 years ago, cutting off many teleport arrays and completely destroying the ancient universe path. He was even more thorough than Emperor Zhongli. After all, even though Emperor Zhongli had destroyed the ancient universe path, he had left some teleport arrays behind. In fact, Jiang Tian was also curious. Dimensions had been folded, so it would have been difficult for the overlords in the universe to find them. Earth, a dead planet without any spirit chi, and the confinement of heaven and earth had also become a shelter for the dimensional worlds. When the overlords in the universe found that Earth had no spirit chi and no cultivation civilization, they would think that there was no threat in that dimension, so they would pass by. And yet, there was still an earth-shattering battle on Star World. Nascent soul overlords and even protective overlords invaded and killed the sect master of the Heavenly God. It turned out that the fortress had been breached from the inside. As it turned out, in the long journey through the stars, the Xing Emperor went missing, the Ao Emperor fell, and the Ruins Emperor took over. Starting from the ruins of immortality, he pushed his way to the level 2, level 3, and level 4 dimensional worlds, taking over the entire ruins of immortality system. The sect master of the Heavenly God. Ancestral Patriarch Shenlong looked at him with admiration and sighed. He used to be the palace master of the Heavenly God Academy under the rule of Ao Huang. He cultivated many cultivators. 1,000 years ago, when the Ruins Emperor's army invaded, he led the academy and fought for 100 years. In the end, he was outnumbered and died. Besides, he destroyed the ancient teleportation array in the universe, making it difficult to travel from the ruins of deity to Heavenly Star and from Heavenly Star to Earth. Otherwise, Earth would have become the territory of the ruins of deity. Not necessarily. Next to him, old monster Mingi shook his head. The first step of the Ruins Emperor's plan was to rule the ruins of deity. The second step was to wait for Earth's spirit chi to recover and for Planet Destroyer to appear. Before that, he didn't want to enslave ancient Earth. He wanted to recuperate and not let any cultivation civilization develop on Earth. Of course, we have to admit that he didn't have good intentions for Earth and was determined to get it. He just wanted to wait for the right time. I once felt a very strong fiend chi at the old site of the Heavenly Gods sect in the Heavenly Star sector. Besides, a Heavenly Star expert had once summoned the remnant soul of a fiend to fight with me. Jiang Tian suddenly thought of a detail and asked with a frown. The fiend chi might have been left behind by the Ruins Emperor's army. Were there any fiends under the Ruins Emperor? Like ancient fiends, sanguine fiends, dark fiends, etc. Fiends? Patriarch True Dragon and company exchanged looks and then shook their heads. The Ruins Emperor and the Southern Gate twin stars are not fiendish cultivators but ordinary humans. There are even rumors that the residents of the Southern Gate twin stars are immigrants from the ancient primordial world. They are no different from you. I'm afraid the Ruins Emperor is just a puppet. There must be a mastermind behind the scenes. Jiang Tian's eyes revealed a look of deep thought. He was certain that there was indeed a rich fiend chi remnant in the solitary Sword Valley in the Stellar Sky domain. Especially the dancing tree, which had been corrupted by the fiend chi and turned into a tree demon. It was then subdued by Jiang Tian and refined into the dancing greenwood divine body. Since the Heavenly God sect's master was actually killed by Ao Emperor's army, and there were fiends in that army, it was very likely that Ao Emperor was colluding with the fiends. Jiang Tian temporarily suppressed that thought and asked, how strong is the Ruins Emperor? How strong is the ruins of deity? Chapter 1202. The Ruins Emperor's cultivation is unfathomable. It's estimated that he's at the soul formation level and is known as a heavenly lord. Ancestral Patriarch True Dragon and the others turned pale when the Ruins Emperor was mentioned. They looked terrified. They were only at the nascent soul level. Compared to the Ruins Emperor, there was a huge gap between them and the nascent soul level. The difference between the soul formation level and the nascent soul level was more than just a level. Although they weren't true gods, they had already reached the human god level and the demigod level. Their primordial spirits were placed in the void and could live forever. They could be called gods. Facing the ruins emperor with their level of cultivation was like a 3-year-old child facing a 2-foot-tall King Kong. He could kill them with a flick of his finger. Soul formation. Jiang Tian looked solemn. 2 beams of cold light flickered in his eyes. He felt a sense of danger and urgency that he had never felt before. At the ruins emperor's level, he could break through space by force. It was only a matter of time before he came to Earth. With Jiang Tian's current level, even if he had 5 divine bodies and 5 fake elixirs, he could fight against an early-stage nascent soul cultivator. However, it was still very dangerous when facing a soul formation cultivator. He could only retreat to save his life, but his chances of winning were extremely slim. According to ancestral patriarch Azure Dragon, the ruins of immortality was vast, spanning hundreds of thousands of miles. There were billions of people, mostly monsters, beasts, and humans. The Ruins Emperor presided over the Ruins Emperor Palace and governed Sky Palace, White Moon Academy, and the Golden Crow Guards. There were hundreds of nascent soul heavenly lords. The continent of immortality used the system of provinces and counties. There were 6 divisions, each controlled by a god, which ruled billions of people. Currently, the human Grand Cultivators of the Prosperous Emperor era and the monster Grand Cultivators of the AO Emperor era had been suppressed by the Ruins Emperor. Most of them died in battle, while the rest were reduced to slaves, dogs, or obedient citizens. The most popular ones were the immigrants led by AO Emperor, who mainly came from the planet of the South Gate Twin Stars. Below the ruins of immortality were the West Desert, the Middle Fertile Land, the South Barbarian Land, the North Ice Plains, and the East Sea. Below the East Sea were the Dragon Gate, Yingzhou, Penglai, and the North Sea. There were humans in these 4 immortal mountains, but they were in a secondary position. The Sea Demon clan was in a dominant position, such as the Merman clan, the Flood Dragon clan, the Kun clan, the Whale clan, and the Sea Shark clan. The Dragon Gate governed Xie, Kanglan, and Tianxing, 3 Class 4-dimensional worlds. They were also the dimensional worlds closest to Earth. They directly shouldered the heavy responsibility of monitoring Earth. After the 4 of them finished speaking, a look of uneasiness appeared on their faces, as if they were prisoners waiting to be sentenced. Jiang Tian pondered for a while. Then, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Actually, I'm not from the ruins of immortality. I'm from Earth. The schoolmaster of Tianqing School, Kang Teichu, was one of them. My goal is the same as yours. I want to destroy the Ruins Emperor and seize my homeland. What? You're actually a mortal from Earth? He came from the Earth realm, but he actually managed to kill Tathagata Datong and dominate the West Earth? He even killed Lei Meng. When the 4 of them heard this, their faces were filled with astonishment, as if they had heard the most inconceivable thing, and they were dumbstruck. That's right. Mao Hongdai stepped forward and said crisply. The Taichu World Venerable did come from Earth through the dimensional barrier. Not only did he conquer West Earth, but he also conquered the Heavenly State and Tianqing dimensional worlds. What? The 4 of them were even more shocked when they heard that. Then, they could not help but admire Jiang Tian to the extreme. Even in the ruins of immortality system, he could be considered a tycoon with 3-dimensional worlds. It was an impressive achievement. Moreover, Jiang Tian had risen from Earth, where the spirit chi had been severely depleted, and it had only taken him a few years. One had to know that back then, the Ruins Emperor had the backing of the Southern Gate Twin Stars. He had deployed millions of cultivators to conquer many worlds in the ruins of immortality. Even so, he had taken an extremely long time. Almost every world he conquered took decades or even centuries. Patriarch True Dragon and the other 3 looked at each other. Suddenly, they had an epiphany. They bowed and said passionately, "We are willing to follow the Taichu World Venerable to conquer the ruins of immortality, slay the Ruins Emperor, destroy the Southern Gate Twin Stars, reclaim our homeland, and rebuild the Heavenly Court." We are not afraid of wearing golden armor in 100 battles. We will not return until we slay the Ruins Emperor. Good. Jiang Tian nodded. True Dragon, Mingi, Takong, and Lotus were all nascent soul experts. If he gave them some pointers, they could quickly break through to the true nascent soul realm and be known as heavenly lords. If Jiang Tian could get the 4 of them to help him, it would be equivalent to having 4 more pillars supporting the heavens. Even if he was not on Earth and the dimensional worlds attacked, they could defeat them with a flick of their fingers. They were invincible. Good, good, good. In the future, the revered one will be our master. No one will dare to disobey your orders. The 4 of them were delighted. Lotus Rulai was even more unbearable. He was extremely flattering as he shouted anxiously, in the future, Lotus will be Master's evil dog. I will bite whoever Master wants me to bite. It was not his fault. He had always been worried that the Ruins Emperor would attack West Earth one day. He was not doing it for himself, but to preserve the roots of the entire ancient Tianzhu race. He had given up his pride and self to curry favor with Jiang Tian. There was a hint of greatness in his humbleness. Okay. Jiang Tian nodded and immediately began to deal with Lei Meng's corpse. Patriarch Azure Dragon, Old Monster Mingi, Lotus Rulai, and Patriarch Takong were all wise people. After a simple treatment, they immediately came over to help. Lei Meng was the strongest divine beast in the universe. He had cultivated to the nascent soul realm, so his body was full of treasures. Jiang Tian carefully peeled off his demon core that was surrounded by lightning and placed it in his storage ring. He would use it to condense a lightning elemental divine body in the future. Then, he peeled off layers of scales. The scales could nurture and absorb lightning and withstand the high temperature of the lightning. If they were made into armor, it would not be afraid of a nascent soul expert or a nuclear weapon. After that, Jiang Tian cut off his tempest wings and 4 claws. They could be refined into flying and attacking true artifacts that were far superior to ordinary numinous treasures. Finally, Jiang Tian extracted all the bones in his body. They were as heavy as mountains and had the high temperature of the lightning. Jiang Tian was prepared to forge them into a lightning elemental offensive Dharma treasure for Zhang Qianlei. Zhang Qianlei had previously obtained Mjolnir, but it was far inferior to this. If he used Lei Meng's bones, his attack would be increased by 10 times. Finally, it was Lei Meng's flesh and blood. Lei Meng had a lifespan of 10,000 years and had devoured countless golden core experts. The spirit qi, blood essence, and energy contained within was vast and extremely pure. If a cultivator used it to refine pills, even if it was just 1 pill, it would be able to restrain all evil and filthy things. Furthermore, one's cultivation level would be raised to the extreme and contain lightning energy. However, Jiang Tian was not in a hurry to refine the pills. Instead, he used the myriad creation spirit art to extract the essence of all the flesh and blood. He would hand it over to Shinmange and company later so that they could refine supreme pills on a large scale. Patriarch Azure Dragon and company were nimble. With their help, everything was quickly completed. At that moment, perfected Lord Azure Dragon suddenly revealed a troubled expression. We all have the heart to pursue the revered one of the world. Unfortunately, I'm afraid it will be difficult for us to charge out of this spatial barrier. It turned out that when they first entered this world 1,000 years ago, they had wanted to persuade Lei Meng to join them in resisting the Ruins Emperor. However, Lei Meng turned against them and only wanted to devour their Fey cores, resulting in a huge battle with them. Their teleportation portals had been destroyed in the battle with Lei Meng. Later on, they shook hands with Lei Meng and made peace. However, without a teleportation portal, they could not return to each other's dimensional worlds. This was also one of the reasons why they nurtured Lei Meng. It was not only to slay the Ruins Emperor, but also to rely on Lei Meng to break through the dimensional world's barriers. What's so difficult about that? Just follow me into West Earth and pass through West Earth to come to Earth. Jiang Tian smiled. On Earth, there are teleportation portals that can reach the star dimension. Many of the teleportation portals in the star dimension are also in the process of being repaired. I believe it's almost done. There's even an ancient teleportation portal at Hanggu Pass that can reach the ruins of immortality. That's not right, Master. Our gate of creation has been branded with the soul and physical characteristics. To them, it's just a one-way teleportation portal. Mao Hongdai was perplexed. The four nodded in agreement. Such teleportation portals required one to leave their soul and brand on the teleportation portal and the spatial barrier before entering. Only on the return journey could they charge out of the spatial barrier and return to their original world. There was no possibility of entering another world through the teleportation portal without leaving their brand. Even Lei Meng could not do that. Therefore, he was in a hurry to break through to the nascent soul realm and wanted to use brute force to break through the spatial barrier. Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he chuckled. Hongdai, you think too highly of this teleportation portal. How can such a crude and primitive teleportation portal be a problem for me? With that said, Jiang Tian took out the teleportation portal and used the creation mystic art to immediately change the runes on it. The runes on the teleportation portal shone brightly and flickered. They quickly faded, multiplied, and reformed, finally turning into even more complex runes. Soon, Jiang Tian removed the brand and modified the portal into a two-way teleportation portal. Under Jiang Tian's control, beams of colorful light enveloped the few of them. The gate of creation formed a spatial barrier. The supreme of the world's array formation skills are simply heaven-defying. Patriarch True Dragon and the others were shocked and could not believe it. The spatial barrier was created by the divine work of the ancient exuberant emperor. It was impossible to break through, but Jiang Tian was able to do it. Jiang Tian looked at the golden-winged eagle king and the many golden core perfected immortals of the North Sea domain and smiled maliciously. If you return like this and report what happened today to the ruins emperor, I will be very passive and very worried. Please forgive me, supreme of the world. I wouldn't dare. The golden-winged eagle king was already scared out of his wits. When he heard that, his face turned as white as a sheet and he almost cried. Chapter 1203. The situation took a turn for the worse. Originally, he was on Jiang Tian's side to deal with Lei Meng and the other old freaks. Who knew that Jiang Tian would kill Lei Meng in a blink of an eye, intimidate the old freaks and even form an alliance? Those old freaks and the West Earth revered one were plotting a rebellion. It was heaven-defying. That was a crime punishable by death. As for him, he was a king under the ruins of Immortality Emperor. How could Jiang Tian allow him to return to the ruins of immortality and leak the news? Taichu Revered One, please allow me to report. Going back, my ancestor was also a subordinate of the Ao Emperor. My grandfather was also killed by the ruins emperor. The golden-winged eagle king knelt on the ground with tears streaming down his face. He clenched his fists tightly and said passionately, to be honest, I've long been dissatisfied with the ruins emperor. I've had thoughts of rebelling against slavery for quite some time. The impulse to kill the ruins emperor, destroy the ruins emperor's palace, and avenge my ancestors has always surfaced in my mind. Taichu Revered One, I'm a golden core perfected immortal after all. If you don't mind, I'm willing to submit to you. I can be a spy in the ruins emperor's divine dynasty. Jiang Tian looked at him with a faint smile. Beside him, Patriarch True Dragon had a grim expression as he whispered, Your Excellency, this kid's ancestor was one of the first batch of people to betray the Ao Emperor and submit to the ruins emperor. He's truly a traitor's lackey. You must not show him any mercy. Kill them all. It's fine. Jiang Tian smiled. I can erase his memories and establish a soul contract with him. When we enter the ruins of immortality one day, this kid will immediately become our lackey. He's already a great perfected immortal with a powerful consciousness. How can his memories be erased so easily? Patriarch True Dragon was shocked and in disbelief. Old Freak Styx River and Patriarch Takong were also worried. Lotus Rulai was even more vicious. With your strength, Why would you need a spy? Just charge into the ruins of immortality, destroy the ruins Emperor's palace, and wash the ruins of immortality in blood. There's no need to keep this kid alive. I have my own plans. However, Jiang Tian didn't listen to them. His soul devourer erupted and directly wiped away the memories of the golden-winged eagle king and everyone else. Furthermore, he established a soul contract with the golden-winged eagle king. With his current strength, he could kill his way into the ruins of immortality and deal with nascent soul cultivators. However, it was barely enough to deal with the ruins emperor and the many soul formation experts. Besides, there was still the earth realm that needed to be improved. After all, Jiang Tian was going to enter the central galaxy one day. Only by preserving the roots of the earth, reviving the spirit qi, laying down the eternal Taoist foundation, and turning the earth into a cultivation planet could they be done once and for all. After all, even if Jiang Tian had reached the soul formation level, it would take a long time for him to travel from the central galaxy to Earth. Jiang Tian's soul devourer was growing stronger every second. Erasing the memories of a golden core cultivator was just a matter of seconds. In just a few breaths of time, the eyes of the golden-winged eagle king and the others turned white. Their bodies trembled as they fell to the ground and fainted. Why is there so much blood? I remember coming here to pick up treasures. Where is he? What about Venerable Green Wolf? Where's Guang Kun? A moment later, the golden-winged eagle king was the first to wake up. He was shocked when he saw the blood around him and the messy ground. Don't worry about that. Go back to your ruins of immortality. Jiang Tian said calmly with his hands behind his back. You're just a 5th-level foundation establishment cultivator. How dare you order me around? The golden-winged eagle king had just woken up and was in a bad mood. After hearing what Jiang Tian said, his murderous intent rose and he approached Jiang Tian. It doesn't work. Old monster Mingy was dumbfounded. Why do you have to go through so much trouble? Kill them all. Old Rulai Lotus was instantly filled with murderous intent. What's going on? This guy is so terrifying. However, the golden-winged eagle king had just taken 2 steps when he felt extremely uneasy and he stopped. It was as if the person in front of him was not a 5th-level foundation establishment cultivator, but a peerless expert who was 10 times or 100 times stronger than the ruins emperor. A look of deep fear appeared on the golden-winged eagle king's face. He could not help but kneel on the ground and cower like a quail. He said respectfully with a trembling voice, "This humble king pays his respects to the Lord and the other masters. If the Lord has any orders, this humble king will do his best to fulfill them." My lord really subdued him. Mingyi, Zhenlong, Lian Sheng, and Ta Kong looked at each other in dismay. They could not believe it. They were shocked to the extreme. Go back. Go back. Jiang Tian waved his hand. His soul devourer was so powerful that the divine soul contract made the golden-winged eagle king submit to him like a servant seeing his master. Yes. My lord. The golden-winged eagle king stood up and shouted, "Get up and go back to your dimensional world." No one dared to disobey his orders. After they woke up, they immediately took out their portals and passed through the dimensional barrier, disappearing from the Thunderlock world. The golden-winged eagle king also flew out of this world through the portal and disappeared from the dimensional barrier, returning to the ruins of immortality. Let's go. Jiang Tian activated the gate of creation. Suddenly, there was a loud boom. A ray of light enveloped everyone and shot towards West Earth, leaving a mark of the gate of creation on the dimensional barrier. The gate of creation, along with Jiang Tian and the others, had already disappeared. After a few seconds, the mark on the dimensional barrier disappeared, and the entire Thunderlock world returned to silence. All that was left was the ever-changing sky, which was emitting rays of strange light that illuminated the lonely tombs on the chaotic bone slope, as well as the divine general of the Western Heaven Gate sitting on the slope, and the battle flag that was fluttering in the wind. The fluttering flag seemed to be silently telling of the past glory of the magnificent Emperor era, the indomitable fighting spirit of those interstellar explorers, and the fearless bravery of those who had conquered the stars. Below the dimensional barrier, above Mount Thunder. This place used to be famous for its powerful thunder and lightning. The sky used to be filled with thick thunderbolts, forming a net that covered the entire Mount Thunder. However, half a month after Jiang Tian left West Earth, the lightning suddenly disappeared without a trace. There wasn't even a trace of it. The sky was clear and boundless. Then, crack! All of a sudden, the space cracked open, revealing a slightly damaged teleportation door. Surrounded by the others, Jiang Tian stepped out with his hands behind his back. He was wearing a black robe and looked calm, as if he were taking a stroll. The four old men behind Jiang Tian were in a mess. Their faces were pale and they were trembling. They staggered as if they were drunk. You're nascent soul overlords after all. Why? Isn't it normal for you to travel through the dimensional barrier? Why are you in such a mess? Jiang Tian glanced at the four of them and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Master, please don't laugh at us. We used to use special portals to travel through the dimensional barrier. It's the first time we've changed the portal and traveled in the opposite direction. For a moment, we've indeed made a fool of ourselves. Lotus Old Rulai had a flattering smile on his face as he nodded and bowed. Without leaving a divine soul and physique imprint on the portal in the dimensional world, traveling in the opposite direction by force was simply heaven-defying. Along the way, there were all kinds of strange phenomena in the dimensional barrier. Thunderbolts, dimensional fragments, cosmic gales, true star fires, and so on. Danger surrounded them, making it difficult for them to move. Although Jiang Tian had already used the power of the portal to create a dimensional barrier and they weren't hurt, the four of them were still frightened. They felt as if they had walked through the gates of hell a few times. However, Master's array formation and ability to control space are indeed at the peak. Reversing the portal and breaking the dimensional barrier by force, opening a dimensional tunnel in the vast universe. Even the experienced nascent soul cultivators and half-step soul formation cultivators can't do such a thing. The four of them recalled the dangerous experiences along the way and couldn't help but feel scared. Ancestral Patriarch Takong was even more impressed by Jiang Tian. In fact, the distance between West Earth and the Thunder Lock was at least billions of kilometers. It was just that the dimensional barrier was connected. If one traveled through the connected dimensional barrier, the speed would be extremely fast and the travel time would be greatly reduced. Of course, the prerequisite was that one had to have a way to break the dimensional barrier. But in fact, this method of using spatial barriers was several times more difficult than directly crossing the void or traveling through the universe. After all, spatial barriers were extremely strict. Moreover, the barriers were filled with spatial fragments of unknown origins, backlash formations, and unfathomable chaotic force fields. There were even variant creatures that ran amok. So, if one wanted to pass through the barriers, then one had to possess an extremely high attainment in formations and a deep comprehension and control of spatial energy. However, Jiang Tian only used a month to pass through the layers of dimensional storms, avoid the counterattack arrays, break through the chaotic force fields, kill countless strange creatures, and bring them across billions of kilometers to West Earth. How could they not be shocked and impressed? The four of them had lived for more than 1,000 years. They were experienced and had unique insight. Especially Ancestral Patriarch Takong, who was proficient in dimensional mystic arts, had already recognized it. Even though Jiang Tian's current cultivation level was still relatively weak compared to the Ruins Emperor, Jiang Tian would definitely grow into a towering tree in time to come. He would stand at the peak and look down on the ruins of immortality and the multidimensional worlds. The Ruins Emperor could only look up to him and be trampled under his feet. Sigh. I actually spent an entire month. When I attain phenomenal golden core, I believe I will be able to break through the dimensional barrier by force without using any teleportation arrays or dimensional portals. Furthermore, the time taken will be greatly reduced. Jiang Tian sighed regretfully. Mao Hongdia's expression remained calm when she heard that. She did not say a word and only widened her eyes to size up Jiang Tian's side profile. That was because all of that was too far away from her. She had no idea what Jiang Tian's words meant. Breaking through the dimensional barrier by force without using a teleportation array. Master's strength is just too terrifying. However, Patriarch Takong was dumbfounded. He staggered and nearly fell to the ground. Throughout history, only soul formation cultivators could control the power of dimensional barrier and traverse the void with their bodies. If top nascent soul cultivators wanted to traverse through space, they would have to use dimensional mystic arts or use mysterious cultivation techniques to strengthen their bodies and slow down the loss of their lifeblood. If a golden core cultivator were to do that, it would be no different from courting death. Jiang Tian's words were extremely exaggerated. It was as though he was saying that he would take the college entrance examination and become the top scholar when he was in 3rd grade. Shall we? It has been 2 months since I left Golden Rock Monastery. Let's hurry to Golden Rock Monastery to take a look. Jiang Tian said calmly. The sky was the dimensional barrier and it was more than 10,000 miles high. However, Jiang Tian and the others were not leisurely at all. In a few hours, they were only 3,000 miles away from the ground. Thunder Mountain was already in sight. However, Jiang Tian glanced at Golden Rock Monastery with his immortal will and suddenly frowned. He said coldly, "It seems that Golden Rock Monastery is not peaceful. Is someone trying to rebel?" Before he finished his sentence, his eyes turned cold. He let go of Mao Hongdia's waist and turned into a black ray of light, flying towards Golden Rock Monastery. Lotus Rulai scanned with his divine consciousness and was also shocked. He thumped his chest and stomped his feet. These bastards, they dare to challenge the Taichu World Venerable's authority when he's not around and take back the position of the Venerable of the world. They're courting death. Chapter 1204. After Jiang Tian went to the Thunderlock realm. Hu Yan, Shao Lingyu, Mei Jiaonan, Whitebeard, Fan Luomei, Tang Linglong, and many other overlords stayed at the Golden Rock Temple and watched the changes in the sky above Mount Laiyin. Now, under Jiang Tian's display of kindness and power, the 4 great orthodoxies, Tingyu Pavilion, Hehuan Sect, Fire Worship Sect, and Changxing Sect, had sincerely submitted to Jiang Tian. However, the Golden Rock Temple was the most unstable one. On one hand, the Golden Rock Temple was powerful and had many Golden Core overlords. Even if the other 4 orthodoxies worked together, they would not be able to defeat them. On one hand, it was because of their belief in the Buddhist sect, and they would definitely not accept someone like Jiang Tian, whose hands were stained with blood, to be their revered Buddha. One day, half a month after Jiang Tian left West Earth, the thunder and lightning above the Golden Rock Temple suddenly disappeared and the clouds dispersed. It was extremely peaceful and did not explode again. Did the Taichu World Overlord really kill Lei Meng? He's so powerful. In the Golden Rock Temple, in the square in front of the 1000 Buddha Hall, Hu Yan was shocked and looked up at the sky. Everyone else also could not believe it. The Taichu World Overlord will be back soon. Everyone was full of anticipation. They all thought that Jiang Tian would come back immediately, but they did not expect to see Jiang Tian after waiting for another month. Why hasn't the Taichu World Overlord returned after 2 months? Could it be that something unexpected happened? Shao Lingyu, on the other hand, had a gloomy expression. He was a little anxious. Hearing this, Whitebeard also revealed a somewhat trembling expression. He clenched his fists tightly again. Logically speaking, Jiang Tian would not stay inside for so long. After all, Jiang Tian's plan was to return to West Earth immediately if he did not gain anything. If he gained something, Jiang Tian would not cultivate in seclusion but return immediately. According to the previous records, it would only take half a month to travel between the 2 realms. Therefore, no matter how he looked at it, Jiang Tian should not have wasted so much time. What he didn't know was that Jiang Tian had brought 5 people back this time. Moreover, they had traveled in the opposite direction, forcibly breaking through the space barrier. Naturally, it would take a longer time. The beautiful man also revealed a shocked expression and said with a trembling voice, "Everyone, the monks on the mountain don't seem to be very stable recently. They've been sneaking around every day, and they've even set up soundproof barriers. It seems like they're plotting something. If something happens to the Taichu world venerable, then..." The old man guessed that the spatial passage of the Thunder Lock might have become unstable after 1,000 years. There might even be spatial fragments obstructing it. That's why the Taichu world venerable took so long. Hui Yen forced a smile and comforted everyone. Yes, everyone should have confidence in the Taichu world venerable. Even Tathagata Datong is no match for him, so who can? Fan Luomei also encouraged him. Yes. Hold on for a few more days and don't panic. I'm sure the Taichu's sect master will be back soon. Just as everyone was nodding their heads and feeling a little more at ease. Ha, sect master Hui Yen, don't you have too much confidence in Kang Taichu? Suddenly, a mocking laugh was heard as a monk walked up to the top of the golden peak. The monk's body was huge, and the Buddhist light behind him was in the shape of a ring. There were 9 rays of Buddhist light in total, indicating that he was a perfected golden core grand immortal. The virtuous guardian. Hui Yan's face suddenly tensed and his pupils contracted. He immediately realized that the visitor was not friendly. He saw dozens of perfected golden core eminent monks behind the virtuous guardian. They were all guardians, bodhisattvas, vajras, arhats, and the chiefs of the various halls. The virtuous guardian was the senior brother of Tathagata Datong and the old bodhisattva. Later, he lost his position as the bodhisattva and became the left guardian of the Golden Rock Temple. He was powerful and famous, and his status and power were only a little lower than Tathagata Datong. Hui Yen was also experienced. After Jiang Tian left, he immediately ordered the senior members of the Golden Rock Temple not to gather or communicate with their immortal consciousnesses. They all stayed in their own rooms and were not allowed to take a step out. These days, Hui Yen and the others had been strictly monitoring and everything had been peaceful. But now, many senior members of the Golden Rock Temple had gathered and came to the Golden Peak aggressively. They were obviously here to cause trouble. Thinking of this, Hui Yen activated his divine power and a few fire dragons surrounded him. He asked coldly, "Dade Dharma Protector, have you forgotten the rules set by this cult master? Who allowed you to leave your monastic abode? Who allowed you to meet in person? Do you take my words for granted? Hui Yen, if you kneel down and surrender now and kill Kang Taichu's henchmen with your own hands, you may live." The virtuous guardian said mockingly. "Are you trying to rebel?" Hui Yen sneered and said, "Have you forgotten the power of the Taichu World Lord? Have you forgotten how you were trembling at his feet? Ah! My cultivation is naturally not as good as Kang Taichu's." The virtuous guardian shook his head and said mockingly, "Do you know that Kang Taichu has already become a pile of bones and died in the Thunder Lock?" "What?" Tang Linglong scolded, "Nonsense. My master's cultivation is incredible and he is extremely talented. Who can kill him? Even a nascent soul cultivator is no match for him." She stared at the virtuous guardian and said coldly, "I don't want to kill in the sacred grounds of the Buddhist sect. Get back to your room, or don't blame me for being ruthless. Don't be angry, benefactor. I'm not cursing your master. I'm just stating a fact." The virtuous guardian said calmly. He then glanced at everyone and said, "Do you remember Lotus Old Rulai?" "Of course. Lotus Old Rulai is an experienced nascent soul cultivator." Hui Yen felt that something was wrong. His pupils shrank and he immediately said, "However, rumor has it that he has already died in the Thunder Lock for thousands of years. His divine soul should have been destroyed. Why are you mentioning him? Lotus Old Rulai is not dead." The virtuous guardian's words were shocking. "Where is he?" Shaolin Yu was so scared that her body tensed up. The countless raindrops around her immediately turned into cold rain swords and aimed at the monks. Oh my God! An experienced nascent soul cultivator is still alive. Don't scare me. The beautiful man jumped up in fright and hid behind Huyen. He pulled on his sleeve and trembled. Lotus Old Rulai. Everyone else's expression changed drastically. Cold sweat broke out on their foreheads as if they were facing a great enemy. Therefore, all of you are wise and far-sighted. You should make a wise choice between stubbornly resisting and seeking your own death or making peace with the Golden Rock Temple. The virtuous guardian was very satisfied with the result. He chuckled and looked at everyone condescendingly as if they were ants. Lotus Old Rulai. He wasn't as kind and benevolent as Buddha Old Rulai. Instead, he was ferocious and angry. Back then, he was brave and good at fighting. He suppressed the entire West Earth and made thousands of sects submit to him. Who wouldn't obey him when he set the rules for the open meeting? Who would dare to fight him? Moreover, he was an experienced nascent soul cultivator. It had been at least 500 years. It was possible that he had broken through to the nascent soul level by now. Buddha Old Rulai was just his grand disciple. He was good at defending his achievements but not aggressive enough. It had only been 100 years since he broke through to the nascent soul level. How could he compare with Lotus Old Rulai in terms of strength, cultivation, achievements, and tactics? Bluff. Huyen forced himself to remain calm. He straightened his body and put his hands behind his back. If he was still alive, why would he wait until now? He wouldn't have watched the Taichu World Venerable massacre the Golden Rock Temple and trample all of you under his feet. Huyen, don't you find it strange? The virtuous guardian looked at him mockingly and said, "You only know bits and pieces about the Thunder Lock. Actually, I told you most of it." Everyone looked at Huyen in surprise. Huyen didn't hide it and smiled awkwardly. "That's right. I only heard that there was a dimensional world near West Earth, but I didn't know the details. Later, it was the virtuous guardian who found me and told me many details about the history of the Thunder Lock and the Gate of Creation." He looked at Buddha Old Rulai and said mockingly, "This virtuous guardian wants to be the successor of this virtuous guardian. This virtuous protector wants to become the next Rulai and wants me to put in a good word for him in front of the Taichu World Venerable. You're obviously a monk, but you're so obsessed with fame and fortune. You're greedy, angry, and obsessed. What a joke, what a pity." The virtuous guardian's expression didn't change at all. "But don't you find it strange? If this is true, why didn't I tell the Taichu World Venerable myself? You're too involved with the Golden Rock Temple. I'm afraid that he won't believe you." Huyen's face froze and then snorted. "Yes, I'm afraid that he won't believe me or won't dare to enter." The virtuous guardian sneered. "Because Lotus Old Rulai is waiting for him inside. He'll only enter if you say so." Huyen's expression changed drastically. The flames around him expanded and contracted rapidly, and his aura became unstable. But he still forced himself to calm down and sneered. "It's just Lotus Old Rulai. Even if Lotus Old Rulai is there, the Taichu World Venerable might not be his match." But at this moment, everyone realized that Huyen didn't have much confidence. In fact, at this moment, everyone had lost their confidence. Lotus Old Rulai was a veteran nascent soul cultivator. Even 10 or 100 Taichu wouldn't be his match. What's more, there was a rumor that there was an extremely powerful lightning-type divine beast there, as well as a vile and complicated environment. If Lotus Old Rulai had really been there for hundreds of years, he would have been very familiar with it. He also had the home ground advantage and could set up many traps to catch Jiang Tian off guard. That's right. One isn't enough. What if there are 4 veteran nascent soul cultivators? Protector Datong's face was full of mockery. Moreover, there's a thunder mantis with nascent soul cultivation inside. You don't know what a thunder mantis is. A thunder mantis is the strongest divine beast in the universe. It's on the same level as the winged dragon and the vermilion bird. A thunder mantis at the nascent soul level is so powerful that it can kill a nascent soul cultivator. He laughed proudly and said, "Ha ha ha, if you knew this, you would have stopped your Taichu World Venerable. But you're too ignorant to let him in." You pushed him into the fire pit with your own hands. Plop. Hearing this, the beautiful man couldn't support himself anymore and sat on the ground. Tears rolled down his face as he muttered, "How can the Taichu world venerable die? After all, he's so handsome."